Looks like it could be survival here today, buddy.
We got a damn race car.
No egos today. It's going to be a longevity race.
Within a celebrated castle, on grounds that have for generations turned victory into legacy, a quest for greatness has been unleashed. It is here you will find a battle-tested knight out to defend his motorized reign.
You guys are the best, man. That's all there is to it. Thank you, boys.
With quiet calm and bulletproof confidence, he will take all, or he will take nothing. A fiery captain, leading a new charge upon storied bricks forged from his native soil.
Hey, kitty, come get you some of this.
The prodigy, out to prove his mettle where ancient and modern collide.
I am the leader. Woo-hoo.
And the wise warrior, standing on the edge of untouched glory.
Jeff Gordon, the first four-time winner of the Brickyard 400.
He steps once more, steely-eyed, into velocity's breach. Past numbers count for nothing when you enter this man-made canyon, filled with history and jeopardy. But what has been true here for 100 years will be true again today. Victory on this legendary ring leaves an everlasting mark. As sure as if it were set in stone.
History and tradition meets opportunity. It's the once-a-year chance to win at Indianapolis for NASCAR Sprint Cup Series drivers. The 16th Brickyard 400 is about to begin on these grounds where auto racing began some 100 years ago. All the dreaming, designing, and diligent preparations are past now. It's almost time to compete to try and win.
And Alan, in that time, I think today our caution history is still going to show 5 to 7 caution flags. The guys that take advantage of those pit stops and strategy to get out front are going to be key, and I think fuel mileage is still going to be important today.
I'll tell you what, this guy right here needs a good run. He really does, Brad.
Yeah, he's done a good job qualifying. Bill Elliott, obviously most popular driver. He's up front. I think 2 tires today is going to be huge, guys. You're going to have to be smart, pick up those 2 tires on pit stops in order to get track position because it's so difficult to pass at this racetrack.
A lot of racing stories, a lot of strategy. In the end, the history at Indianapolis tells us that the big-time drivers, the big-name drivers, tend to win here. You look at the list of winners of this race over the years, most come from the rosters of NASCAR champions as well. And once again, that big stage awaits for someone today to shine. Will it be a Mark Martin getting his first Indy win? Will it be Tony Stewart, his team huddling there, claiming a 3rd victory, this time carrying the number of his childhood hero, A.J. Foyt, to victory lane? The time to find out begins shortly. Let's go for the opening ceremony.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove your hats for today's invocation to be delivered by Reverend Howard Brammer.
For many, O God, these are hallowed grounds, the motor racing capital of the world, which has provided racing excitement for millions of people for the past century. As we surround this famous oval, as we consider the enormity of this crowd and the magnitude of this event, we are thankful for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and we are mindful of our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. As these 43 engines come to life, according to your providence, we invoke your blessing upon this event, which we trust will result in the safety of every driver, crew member, and spectator. And finally, Lord, we remember our military personnel around the world protecting the freedoms and rights of this great land we call home. May appreciation of its liberty equal the bravery of its defense. So God bless our troops, bless our nation, bless this event. I pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing. Please remain standing. Welcome interpreter Kristen Santos and up-and-coming Nashville country music artist Indiana's own Casey Jamerson leading us in the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, see, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets rock loud, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
The drivers tell you they like to treat this like it's any other race. From experience, we know that that moment right now, when it's time to clear the grid and for the drivers to climb aboard, it's not just any other race from them. They know it's Indianapolis, and they know this is their once-a-year chance to win. The engines fire when we come back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
The Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis Motor.
Drivers buckling aboard their machines on the main straightaway of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Along pit road, the crew members, without whom no driver can succeed and win today, also preparing to do their jobs. Among them, Jeff Gordon's team getting their last-minute instructions from their pit crew coach before they head to their pit box. Let's get some updates from pit road. Here's Dave Burns.
Well, this is Dennis Terry from Mooresboro, North Carolina. He will be carrying our crew cam today. And the shot that Dennis will be giving you, well, it may be uncomfortably close to the tires that he's going to be changing, just like it is right now for me. As Dennis leaves pit road, that's the story we want to cover here. It's tight down here between running the fuel cans and running the stacks of tires that these guys will be doing back and forth. It's not far to the other crews trying to do that out here and then to the fence. There's no room down here at Indy, and it can affect what happens in your race. Shannon?
Well, Dave, with the tire issue solved, one thing you might want to watch for today is possible pit road strategy. But before they can get strategic inside the pit box, they actually have to get inside the pit box. Inside the pit box, that is, because this is such a narrow pit road, and also because unlike most tracks where teams peel off in sections, you may see all 43 drivers coming down pit road at once today. So it can be a very successful place, but it can also be a place very difficult to navigate. Alan?
Shannon, thank you. It was 100 years ago that they first held auto races on these grounds at the corner of 16th and Georgetown in Indianapolis, actually in Speedway, Indiana. Started as a proving ground for the fledgling auto industry. A lot of car manufacturers in the early days of the car were developed around Indianapolis. Of course, the first 500-mile race was held here back in 1911. NASCAR, a relative newcomer to the 100-year-old party, 16 years ago. It was August 6, 1994, that the first Brickyard 400 was held. Of course, Jeff Gordon won the race that day. Now drivers are all strapped in, getting ready to pursue a chance to put their name on the trophy at Indianapolis as a winner at this historic place, and of course make that oh so sweet kiss on those dirty gritty bricks at the end of the day. Right now, trackside, the Grand Marshal, Tyler Hansbrough, old buddy of Brad's, a new draft pick of the Indiana Pacers, is getting ready to say those most famous words.
And now to say the most famous words in motorsports, ladies and gentlemen, the chairperson of the board of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Mary Hallman George.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Yeah. Got you loud and clear. 1, 2, 3.
Yes, 10-4.
Fired up.
Fired up, winter.
Wheel lock, your belt's tight.
All right, guys, nice and smooth on just like practice.
I can hear you on radio 2. I can't transmit on radio 2 up here.
To go back to battery 1 there. If we stall this thing, we'll have to go back.
One of the other traditions at Indy that's different, the family member gives the command. The Grand Marshal's going to wave the green flag. Hang on, Brad, hang on. All right, the drivers are fired up. It's time to go racing. It's time to go upstairs to the three men that'll call today's Brickyard 400 with former Indy winners Dale Jarrett and Andy Petrie. Here's Dr. Jerry Plunge. Doc, take it away.
Thank you very much, Alan, and hello, everyone. Glad to have you with us. You know, as we peer out the windows here in the pagoda behind us, you can almost feel the electricity down on the starting grid. And guys, both of you have lived these moments. Collectively, what's the emotion like for these drivers and crews right now?
Well, Jerry, speaking from experience and being in this position before and talking to other drivers, this is a time when that level of excitement that you've had for weeks and months leading up to this huge event is overtaken by apprehension. So a little bit of nerves right now. These guys are running that first and second corner over and over in their mind. They've waited 365 days to have this opportunity to be a champion at the Brickyard. They don't want that to go away in a hurry. So a little bit of nervous tension right now.
And it's so hard not to get caught up in all of it as a crew chief. And you're sitting there, your stomach's kind of rumbling, and you're thinking, I sure hope I don't forget something, or I didn't check something off the list, or the air pressure's not set. Something's going to keep us from winning. You just get all this emotion in you. You got to settle down and get back in the game.
A year ago, it was tire management and a whole lot of luck that dictated the winner here. Now, this year, as a driver and crew chief, what are the keys to victory at the Brickyard today?
Well, last year was a no-brainer for the crew chiefs. This year, we're going to have a lot more options. We've heard a lot about it in the pre-race show. 2 tires to no tires to, a lot of different strategies pitting under green. So we've got a lot of things going on today.
Yeah, as a driver, you have to be patient. We heard Rusty say these drivers aren't very patient. You have to show some patience. Get yourself in a position to win this race when it counts, and that's in those last 10 laps.
When you come to Indianapolis, you try to avoid all distractions, but that's been tough to do this week for one driver. For more, here's Vince Welch.
Well, Doc, for 2003 Brickyard winner Kevin Harvick, not much has gone right lately. He's 25th in the Cup standings. There's also been the distracting speculation about his future at Richard Childress Racing. And while he has not been considered a favorite here this week, don't forget that Kevin Harvick has had some very good runs here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And maybe there would be no better medicine for this 29 team for Harvick to have one of those runs here today. Jamie?
Vince, although there's 7 races before the cutoff for the chase, some people today, their main objective is to leave here top 12 in points. So who's sitting outside the top 12? Greg Biffle. After the last race at Chicago, he dropped 4 positions in the points. He sits 13th. He's also finished 18th or worse the last 4 races. Today, he's in desperate need of a good finish and a good points day. Doc?
Our in-race reporter today is a 2-time Brickyard 400 winner, Tony Stewart.
All right, bud. Getting ready to roll them off here. Have a nice day here. Nice little hot Indy. Track's going to be a little slick to start out, so we tighten it up just a little bit. Just let us know how it progresses there to start. We'll be ready for you here in the pit.
Copy that. I'll let you know as soon as we get a little bit of an opening here and get settled in.
When we return, we'll talk with Tony about the prospects of a 3rd win for the Native Hoosier here at Indianapolis and why maybe this one would be oh so special. The century-old Indianapolis Motor Speedway has been called the world's greatest race course, and for good reason. This place is so steeped in history and tradition. The anticipation escalated even more yesterday after qualifying because 2000 Indy 500 winner Juan Pablo Montoya claimed a spot on the front row for the 2nd time in 3 years. And 50-year-old Mark Martin became the oldest driver to ever win a pole in the 100-year history of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Let's take a look at the starting grid, and you will note that 53-year-old Bill Elliott, the 2002 winner here, starts back in 4th position. And our in-race reporter, the driver of the Old Spice Office Depot Chevrolet, Tony Stewart, starts 7th. So let's visit with Tony.
Hey, Smoke, Dale Jarrett, the ESPN. You have a copy?
Cal, but I can barely see the double line there. But I'll be able to call the flag man for the initial start for sure. And I'll do my best to call you when they get that line up there.
Hey, Smoke, Dale Jarrett, the ESPN. You have a copy?
Yeah, man.
Hey, Smoke, even though you have won 2 of these Brickyard 400s, you're starting the race today with your own team with the famous number 14 on the side. Can you give us your emotions right now?
I'm proud, especially where we're starting this thing. I mean, to start 7th and the job that Darian Grubb and Tony Gibson and, you know, Bobby Hutchins, everybody at Stewart Haas Race, and they've just done an awesome job. And I'm proud of our group, proud of what we've been able to accomplish, and know that a man from Texas is pretty proud of us, too, that carried this number to 4 Indy 500 wins. So hopefully we'll do him proud today.
All right, buddy, with your comfortable points lead, could we see you be pretty aggressive in trying to get to victory lane here at the Brickyard?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if there's one place that I'm willing to throw it all away to try to win it, this is it. But, you know, it's still about being smart. You got to be there at the end. And, you know, we want to win this race as bad as we want to win, and not a little more so than most of them that we run. So we're going to do the best we can to win it, lead the points. We got enough of a buffer here that we can take chances if that's what it takes to win the race. And, you know, we need those extra 10 bonus points to catch up to Mark Martin. So we'll do everything we can today to get it done.
All right, Smoke, thanks for talking with us. Have a great day. And now Andy's going to talk to your crew chief, Darian Grubb.
Thank you.
Hey, Darian, Andy Petrie up in the booth. You got us?
That's it for I got you.
Hey, Darian, with this tire situation solved this year, it opens up a lot of possibilities. Could you walk us through some of the things we might see today?
I think you're going to see a whole different race from what you're used to here. They're going to have a really good fall off in these tires. Goodyear run a great tire back, so you're going to be a lot of strategy going on. Guys in the back are going to be trying to get that track position. They're going to be doing 2 tires when other guys are going to be taking 4, trying to help their handling out. So there's going to be a lot of strategy to play. You got to be able to be up front there at the end to have the shot to win. And like Tony said, we're going to have a little bit of a risk reward game there at the end, trying to win this race, try to get that old spice off the Steve-O team up front.
Well, Darian, thanks for talking to us, and good luck today. We know how much this race means to you guys.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Well, aside from Tony Stewart, we will take you inside the action today with onboard cameras mounted in 8 other cars. Right along with rookie phenom Joey Logano, who starts back in 18th position. 2003 winner Kevin Harvick starts 19th. Dale Earnhardt Jr., the best start of the year, in 3rd. And last night's Nationwide Series winner Carl Edwards, who starts way back in 41st. But folks, he didn't qualify well, but he was 4th quickest in the final session. So Carl could certainly be a factor early on. We also have a camera inside the pace car, the Chevrolet pace car, driven by former NASCAR driver Brett Bodine. By the way, Brett Bodine finished 2nd here in the inaugural Brickyard 400. They have added a lap here because they're going to clean up some debris on the racetrack that's associated with the opening ceremonies. I want to make sure this track is nice and clean when we get the green flag here for the first time.
See some tape or some of the trash maybe coming off the track on Montoya's splitter brace right there. It's just some paper, nothing to worry about, but you can see it flapping.
Yeah, we do have a lot of wind blowing around here, and this was always a racetrack that you were a little concerned, especially at the beginning of the race, of trash and papers blowing around and getting on your grill and creating an overheating situation.
DJ drivers have often said, and it's not until right now on the pace laps that when they look up into these massive grandstands that they really appreciate the enormity of this place.
It's unbelievable. This is my 2nd year in doing this. I'm coming out of my skin right now. I wish I were out there on the racetrack. This is such an exciting place, but it's amazing how much it changes when you put these people in these grandstands as you go down into that first turn. It looks like a narrow front straightaway gets even more so as you try to filter down into turn 1. But very exciting time for these guys. I talked about them being a little apprehensive right now. That'll soon go away, but they want to get through these first couple of corners.
We're excited. The drivers are excited. Let's go down to the Carl Edwards pits and talk to Bob Osborne. Shannon.
Carl Edwards starting 41st today. Bob Osborne will have to navigate his driver through the field. You told me this morning you guys are pretty happy with the car in race trim. How early do you guys start looking for strategy to get this car up front?
Well, really, drop of the green flag here. We're just going to see how the race goes and see where the cautions fall depending on what we do and when it happens. But we're definitely going to have to pull the proverbial rabbit out of the hat here to get a little bit of track position. So let's hope it works out for us.
All right, keep your eye on Carl Edwards making his way through the field. Doc?
Thank you, Shannon. The race analysis today, it is a 400-mile race on a 2.5-mile racetrack, and that translates to 160 laps. The pit road speed will be 55 miles per hour. The pace car will run 70, and the pit window is because of fuel this year, Andy Petrie, 30 to 35 laps.
Yeah, that line didn't come into play last year because the tire would only go about 10 or 12 laps, but this year it does go the full fuel run, and we expect that fuel to last anywhere from 30 to 35 laps.
The 20 car had to change engines after the final practice session, Vince, and they're going to the back of the field.
Slipping from the 18th starting spot all the way to the rear is 19-year-old Joey Logano, who is the youngest starter in this field. And when I asked him today about the difficulty of his first start here at the Brickyard and having to go all the way to the back to begin the race, he said, with a big smile, well, there's nowhere to go but forward. So Joey Logano was keeping it in check like a veteran, and he did say, well, at least nobody will be running me over from behind when I'm enjoying the view of this great place, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I'd say he's got it all in check today.
Yeah, he can make history from winning it all the way from the back of the pack here today. How do the crews get fired up? They tend to get together in groups and talk about what's going to happen today. Let's eavesdrop here on the 48 crew.
I'm looking forward to this race, gentlemen. I think it's going to be a lot of fun for us. I think we're all going to have a good time today. I think it's going to be a good crew chief race, driver race, pit crew race. I think everybody's going to have a good time with this one. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the race.
Well, folks, it is hard to believe that a racetrack which is 100 years old could have some long-standing records possibly shattered here today. Could Jeff Gordon become the first driver to win for a 5th time on this historic oval? Could Tony Stewart carry that famous number 14 of childhood hero A.J. Foyt back to victory lane here at Indy? Could Dale Earnhardt Jr. follow in the footsteps of his famous father as a Brickyard 400 winner, and by doing so join the Unsers as the only other father-son duo to win here in Indianapolis? And on the front row, could Juan Pablo Montoya become the first Indy 500 winner to also win the Brickyard 400? And how about on the pole? Could Mark Martin become the oldest driver ever to win at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway at 50 years plus? Folks, there are a few select venues in sports where a victory can change your life forever, and this is one of them. Only 8 drivers today know what it feels like to win at this racetrack. The other 35 want to. We are glad to have you with us, so sit back and enjoy it with us as the world's greatest stock car drivers head down to the green flag at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Single file on a turn 2, but how long will they stay there? This is the backstretch, and this is normally where the passing begins, and indeed it does.
And that's probably the most calm start that we'll see as we get to some restarts later on and this thing gets started heating up. Everybody wanted to get through that first and second corner, and now we'll start racing.
See, Bill Elliott hung up on the outside, though, but he's getting a little bit of run. Able to clear these 2 cars, these 2 Toyotas, Brian Vickers and David Ruderman.
Yeah, saw Vickers do something there that we're going to see a lot of today. The 2 cars that were side by side in front of him, he was able to get by. We have a crash.
Well, trouble. Robbie Gordon has come off the racetrack and spun, and that will bring the caution out here on lap number 1 today.
You really hoped as a driver that wasn't going to happen because you were just starting to calm down a little bit. And now, especially with the double file restarts, you have to go at it again.
Yeah, this is going to be tough. And this is not what they want to see because the start of the race, they do kind of be calm and let everything sort out. And think, okay, they go racing.
Probably are. I probably should have pitted.
But they are definitely going to be at
got into somebody's oil.
It looks like Robbie's okay. I don't see any damage on his car. Only thing he might, if he slid pretty hard on those tires, it looked like he might have a left front flat there, Andy.
It sounded like he said he got in someone's oil. Right there looked like he got kind of pinched down there a little bit.
We are also getting reports that the 19 car of Elliott Sadler may have had some smoke coming out of it. Could that have been from Sadler's car? Was Robbie Gordon was talking about maybe getting into someone's oil?
Okay, you did just get loose right there.
Yeah, it's really easy, and it feels like that you've hit all that, but there's just not a lot of grip to be had there right now at this particular moment.
Whoa, man, that was a close call.
Man, Bobby Labonte just snuck by.
There's the 19 car of Elliott Sadler, who had such a good run at this racetrack a year ago, finishing fourth. And we are told that NASCAR will indeed be black flagging the 19 car with, they saw a puff of smoke out of the back of the car.
Yeah, we don't see any smoke coming out of the car right now, at least from this shot.
Andy, what could that be?
Well, anything from overfilling the oil tank, that would be the first thing I would think of. You know, these guys go and then top off all these fluids, and they may have gotten just a little too much oil in the tank. Yeah, I do see definitely smoke coming out right now.
Yeah, it could be rear end or loose line. They can do the same thing with the rear end.
They can overfill the rear end and come out the vent there, or even a loose line on either one of those.
Just the kind of things you were talking about early as we started talking that you don't want to do as a crew chief, right?
You just don't want to leave anything to chance here. You make sure you hit every detail.
First caution flag of the day here at Indianapolis. Lap one, it is Robbie Gordon's car in trouble and Elliott Sadler on pit road. Welcome back to the Brickyard 400 presented by Golden Corral. We are under caution that came out on lap number one, a spin by the 7 car, Robbie Gordon. He has come on and off pit road. The 19 car of Elliott Sadler had come on the pit road and now has gone to the garage area.
Yeah, we have some reports that Elliott's car was smoking on the pace laps and could have possibly been putting something down. Yeah, a lot of others made it through there, but it could be something, and there is no speedy drive being put down on the track either.
Yeah, and the fact that he went to the garage area tells you that it probably wasn't something simple like we speculated. It's not an oil line or possibly an overfill situation, so they're back to the garage.
First time in the history of Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the NASCAR Star Cars, we will have a double file restart shootout style. And what was the prediction down in the NASCAR countdown? I guess Rusty predicted a wreck in turn 1, and Ray Evernham said they'll wait till they get to turn 2 to wreck.
Yeah, but I don't think we're going to see it here. I think the driver's still going to use some restraint. They're not going to go after it full bore. Like what the guys in countdown were talking about is these later race caution flags when these restarts happen. Right now I think they'll use a little more better judgment.
Yeah, both the guys from right now on row 1, Mark Martin and Montoya, need to be able to gather some points and stay where they are in the chase.
And they've really moved this start point way back to give these drivers a chance to get up to speed and kind of sort things out. They did have it a lot closer down to the start-finish line. You see, these guys can't pass now. This is still just like the start of the race. They can't pass either side before they get to the start-finish line.
Mark Martin has led the first 4 laps, but now Juan Pablo Martin bobbles a little bit in turn 1, and Montoya will get the spot, and here comes Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Yeah, that's exactly what we've been talking about all week. They got on the inside. If the car gets close to him, and Montoya stayed right there on Mark Martin's door and got him loose as they got into turn 1.
See Bill Elliott, the 21, working the bottom side of the racetrack. Now you got Stewart looking inside him, 3 wide.
Yep, 3 wide, and back behind that's Greg Biffle, 3 wide.
That's for 4th position. Tony Stewart able to go by both Vickers and Bill Elliott.
They ran out of patience in a hurry, didn't they?
Man, I'm telling you.
4 laps in.
And you thought Smoke was going to take it easy and let the car sort out for a while.
Yeah, we'll see what he does.
Right now is the time to really kind of get singled out here and then push your car a little bit. See where the weak spots are that you may want to work on later.
There comes last year's winner, Jimmy Johnson. Behind him, the 47 of Marcus Ambrose. And behind Ambrose is the 18 of Kyle Busch.
Yeah, Ambrose has been very impressive here in the 2 years that he's been here. He came out here last year, made the field on time. This year he had a spot locked in, but he looks really good so far.
See Reed Sorensen, 43, now getting some pressure from Denny Hamlin, the 11.
Yeah, there comes a guy that a lot of people have talked about. Heard Rusty say how well he runs at Pocono, that thought that he had a really good chance of winning here, and I'd have to agree. He's got a good person on his box, too. Mike Ford's had a lot of success here at this place.
Talking about the 11 car, Denny Hamlin there. Of course, Hamlin was leading with 10 laps to go here a year ago and got passed for Jimmy Johnson by Jimmy Johnson for the victory.
And Montoya's jumped out to a full second lead.
Yeah, he's running almost a half a second quicker than anybody else right now.
Well, let's update what's going on with Elliott Sadler. Vince.
Elliott Sadler in the garage. He's taking his helmet off. You see the hood is up on the race car, and they do have a leak of some sort, but they're not sure the origin of it. And I can tell you, as Sadler rolled in, it was not a leak that was creating a stream behind him by any stretch of the imagination, but there is a leak, and it looks like it's going to be a while in the garage for Elliott Sadler. Helmet off, crew underneath trying to diagnose.
Pretty good battle here on the right side of your racetrack. Thank you, Vince. Right side of your screen, it should say the 39 car of Brian Newman, Martin Truex, and Sorensen. That's 16th, 17th, and 18th.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick's in that battle too. This hasn't been the type of year that Kevin Harvick has been looking for, but he's a former winner here. You can see him go on the inside of Matt Kenseth as he go down the front straightaway.
There is Jeff Gordon, started back in 22nd position, and right now Jeff Gordon sort of sitting there. He's in 21st spot.
It's interesting to see. We wanted to see with this tires these guys got side by side. You can see Matt Kenseth able to hold his own as he went in on the outside of Kevin Harvick into turn 1.
And I think that's going to get better as the race goes on. You're going to see that groove widen out a little bit as these cars put rubber up in that outer groove. In practice, they wouldn't run side by side for very many laps. Now they have to run side by side, and they will put that rubber out there.
We are 7 laps in, and for the first time in his stock car career, Juan Pablo Montoya is leading at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Remember, he won here in 2000 in the Indy car, and they decided this year to do the retro paint scheme, using the same paint job on this car that they had on the Indy car in 2000 when he won it as a rookie from the pole. Montoya the leader, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is second, Mark Martin, Tony Stewart, and Brian Vickers the top 5. Lap 10 at Indianapolis here in the Brickyard 400, presented by Golden Corral. And Juan Pablo Montoya has led the last 6 laps after Mark Martin led the first 4. Martin is now in second position. Tony Stewart is third. Brian Vickers fourth. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. now has dropped back to the 5th position. Here are the current standings for the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year. Now, points are accumulated by the team who wins the race, by fan votes, and by an ESPN pick. And you see Jeff Gordon right now coming in, has the most points. Earnhardt Jr. second, Tony Stewart, and Matt Kenseth. That 17 bunch has done a great job this year on pit road. You can make your pick for the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year by texting the car number for the pit crew you think is fastest and most valuable in each race to 2258. That's 2258. Standard text rates apply. 82 car in for an unscheduled stop. Scott Speed.
Yeah, I don't know why he's in so early. Unless he's brushed the wall. It looks like there's some damage there on that rear. There it is. That damage on the right side. They had to come in and get that fixed, get some tires on it. Not the start they were looking for here.
No, they did change all 4 tires, though.
"13 laps in and single file a little bit there. And Montoya just pulled away a little bit. You see the interval between him and the 5 car of Mark Martin. And how about the rookie Joey Logano? We mentioned they went to had an engine change, had to go to the back of the pack, and now he is coming in a hurry. Logano started at the back, has gained 16 position.
Yeah, we watched him in final practice yesterday. He was very impressive. He had a fast time there. His car didn't seem to fall off a lot. You know, you always wonder how long it takes somebody to adapt to this racetrack, but he seems to have caught on pretty good.
Yeah, you see Kurt Busch moved up 11 spots, and Jimmy Johnson's gained 8. Jimmy's making his way close to the front now. He's in 8th spot.
Yeah, Jimmy's had consistently good lap times, even as he's had to deal with traffic and making passes.
Yeah, he was actually the fastest car that lap of anyone on the racetrack.
Jimmy Johnson, a 2-time winner here. It has been feast or famine for Jimmy Johnson. He's won twice in the last 5 races. That's the good news. The bad news is the other 3 times he came here, he did not finish the race.
Yeah, he told me he'd just soon forget those, and he puts that behind him and doesn't really worry about that. He focuses on those 2 times that they've come here and won the race and then gone on to win the championship.
Let's update the 82. Vince?
Scott Speed had indicated he thought he had a right rear tire going down. He rubbed the wall on the right side, did a little cosmetic damage to the car. They did come into the pits, changed 4 tires. They don't think there's any damage other than the cosmetic on the right rear. So had to come in early, but at least it's nothing that's going to prolong their agony throughout the day.
just have to try to hold on and get a caution or wait for things to cycle around as far as everybody pitting them.
Well, that's the beauty of this new double file restart and wave around rule. You're never really out of it. I mean, if you get the cautions fall right, you get waved around and stay out. Like if it would come out right now, he could stay out when these leaders pit and actually get waved around, even if he was not the lucky dog, which he's in that spot now.
We mentioned Carl Edwards, a very disappointing qualifying effort on Saturday, 41st, but he was very good in happy hour in the final practice session. He was 4th quickest. Now, but Shannon, he's not moving up as quickly as we might have thought.
Well, right now the car is not handling the way that Carl Edwards exactly wants it to handle. This is what he just said on the radio.
Just real loose when somebody's on the outside. It makes it real hard to race right now. And 4. Just take your time here, buddy. No hurry. Take your time. Take care of it.
Carl Edwards is also saying that the car has gotten a little bit tight in the center, but Bob Osborne up there, they are ready to make some changes when they do come down pit road. Carl Edwards finished 2nd in this race last season. He said he could taste the victory, and this car wants to get up front.
That's a difficult situation as a driver. You get your car gets loose with someone on the outside. Your majority of your passes are going to be to the inside of cars, and as he continues to try to move up through the pack, and he's going to have to adjust his driving a little bit, try to make those passes in areas where he's able to clear before he gets to the corner.
Is there any way you can adjust your driving style to help tighten the car up when it is loose?
Yeah, you can, and there again, it goes to where you catch these cars and what you do by backing out a little bit early. But if you're trying to pass someone, you still got to get to the corner. You're better off, though, back out just a little bit and then try to get to the gas quicker.
There is one Pablo Montoya. We established the fact that he won here at Indy in 2006. He's won the Grand Prix of Monaco. He has won NASCAR Sprint Cup victory, but it was on a road course out at Infineon Raceway. He would love to win here in a stock car at the same track where he had his biggest day in open wheel competition.
Well, we're seeing these lap times drop off now, and that's what we expected with this tire, is for it to have a little fall off, and we're seeing that. Montoya's dropping off just a little bit more than Mark Martin, so Mark's eating into that lead just a little bit at a time. And we see Brian Vickers now is around Tony Stewart. He's now running 3rd. We'll watch his lap times and see how he progresses.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. had slid back to 5th position and is now stabilized there. Vince.
Well, the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. is a little bit tight in traffic, especially when he's directly behind another car. So he was going over with the crew chief Lance McGrew about the different changes he wants to make in tire pressures on the tires. By the way, Dale Jr. has been sick throughout the course of the weekend, needed a couple of bags of IVs on Friday, but told me before the race he was feeling much better. Dave?
On lap 2, Jimmy Johnson described this 48 car as sporty, boys. He wanted them to know that he thought it was good. He has come to the front. He is currently running in the 6th position after starting back in the 16th position. He says it's free everywhere, but that's starting to improve. The entry is now better. It's just a little bit snug in the center, and coming off the corner, just a little bit free. That's a condition he can handle right now. Guys?
You know, there's one thing I see on some of these cars from the close shots we take is a lot of brake dust on the wheels. And when these lap times are dropping off so rapidly, these guys are going to have to really slow the cars down to get in the corner. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw maybe some brake problems later in the race.
Yeah, can do that, and as a driver, you're adjusting that brake. That is one thing that you have an adjustment inside the race car that you can adjust that to help you as you go on, and as these tires lose a little bit of grip and your car does different things, then you have to make that adjustment.
There's Tony Stewart in the 14 car, showing in 4th position. Montoya, Martin, Vickers, and Stewart. Of course, the points leader, 175-point margin for Stewart coming into this race. Would that allow Tony maybe to gamble a little bit today, to do some things he ordinarily wouldn't do?
I think absolutely, yeah. You know, he told us that as we got ready to start this, that, yeah, he can kind of go after things. He's put himself in a great position as the points leader. He doesn't have to worry about that. His total focus today is winning this race.
Yeah, just hearing what he said, he's willing to throw it all away to win here.
This is the same car that Tony drove for the very first win as an owner at the NASCAR Sprint Cup All-Star race. Tony trying to make history here by taking the number 14, back to victory lane. Jeff Gordon trying to make history by becoming the first 5-time winner at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
The Brickyard is one of the most challenging racetracks that we go to. It takes a total team effort and a great driver to win there. You know, whether it's pit strategy, a pit stop, a fast race car, or, you know, just maneuvering around other cars in traffic. It's it is definitely a track that you have to have a lot of respect for, but your competitors have a lot of respect for those who have gone there and won, especially if they've won multiple times.
Who better to get advice from about this racetrack? And he was talking about there are certain tracks where it's mostly car. There are some tracks where it's really, really driver intensive. He said the other day, it's this track, it's the total team that you have to get to victory lane.
Yeah, as a driver, you can't have any letdown at any point in time. It takes everything. You have to have a good race car, good handling car. You have to have plenty of horsepower. But on the other side, you have to do your job as a driver. And that crew chief has a full day, doesn't he, Andy?
Yeah, I remember one driver had the best car by far, best engine, best everything, ran out of gas one time, took him out of the race completely.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up. But that was a fun car to drive in 1998 while it had fuel in it.
But it was one small detail that just took you completely out of it.
And they go by Davis.
Look at Kenseth getting loose on the bottom right there.
I think we're going to see that a lot today, these cars get loose. We won't talk a whole lot about aero loose, but that's exactly the type of situation that you're going to see these guys get themselves into. You can see that Kenseth wasn't able to complete that pass.
That is 20th through 23rd there, with now Joey Logano moving in 23rd position. Closing in on first pit stop of the day, and it is Juan Pablo Montoya trying to do what he did back in 2006 when he won the Indianapolis 500. Working lap 24 of the Allstate 400 at the Brickyard. And aerial coverage provided by our good friends at Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. New Fuel Max tires help you have a winning fuel strategy. This massive facility, and it is Juan Pablo Montoya who is the leader. And it is now time for today's Aflac trivia question. The question is, what driver in the field today has the most starts at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway? What do you think, guys? What do you think?
Well, there's got to be a famous name. I'm thinking Andretti.
Yeah, I'd have gone with Robbie Gordon, maybe.
You guys are both very close, but it is John Andretti. 21 starts, 11 times in the Brickyard 400 and 10 Indy 500s. By the way, Robbie Gordon has 20 starts. There is John Andretti in the 34 car currently being shown 34th.
And Robbie Gordon was just on and off pit road again, so he's having a difficult day here to start with.
Joey Logano is still trying to make up ground. Now, he came all the way from the back of the field after having changed an engine, and he has gotten up behind the 17 car, and that's where his progress has stopped.
Well, he's done a nice job getting there, just in 25 laps to catch Matt Kenseth. He's up into the 23rd spot, so he's having a really good day. I would say that if you told him he could move up 20 spots in that amount of time, that he would be very happy with that.
And we're coming up on green flag pit stops here shortly.
We have to remember they took an extra pace lap there to get some debris and some papers and things off the track, so that could factor into having to pit a little bit early.
Yeah, that should take just a little bit off. We're expecting anywhere from 30, like say 30 to 35 laps, and those extra laps on the pace might bring them a lap or two sooner.
We talked to Joey Logano about the big shoes he was having to fill jumping in that car where Tony Stewart had been so successful with 2 championships and 2 Brickyard 400 titles. Vince.
Joey Logano was very happy with their race car at the end of the practice happy hour session yesterday, so he was confident coming into this race that he was going to have a car that was going to be able to make a little noise, and then unfortunately had to go to the back. But that certainly did not sway his confidence in being able to make up ground. He said, we've just got to be patient. So far, they've done it. Shannon?
Well, Kurt Busch coming into this qualifying session this weekend, the team was really scratching their heads. I spoke with Pat Trison today. I asked him what happened in the qualifying session, and he was very vague. He said something just didn't work out. The problem was they weren't really 100% happy with their car in final practice. So Pat Trison told me the goal today is number 1, work on the handling of that number 2 car, and number 2, get track position. Right now the car's a little loose off, guys.
Yeah, as we watch these cars race, these are exactly the type situations that the drivers that I talked with said they were having difficult times. They might catch a car from literally a half a straightaway back, but then trying to pass him was the most difficult thing. It seems like they lost the front end of their car in the center of the corner where they needed to get back to the throttle.
Yeah, it seems like almost every shot we've seen of Kenseth, he's been loose, and Logano's still not able to take advantage of that.
These guys trying to run down Juan Pablo Montoya, who has just pulled away by 1.8 seconds over Mark Martin in second spot. There comes the pole sitter Martin. You see behind him Tony Stewart. And Brian Vickers has made the turn. Earnhardt Jr. and Jimmy Johnson. And Earnhardt Jr. was reeled in by Jimmy Johnson, but now is pulled back away by a couple of car lengths. Let's listen in the Earnhardt Jr. radio.
I'm missing a lot of corners because we got too much conversation going on. The loose is about a 4, and the tight was about a 2. It's gained up to about a 4, maybe a 5.
Well, they need to do more talking on the straightaway. These things are long enough that you can talk there. So, but that, as we see Kevin Harvick, the first one to hit pit road here.
2003 winner coming in to get what everyone expects to be 4 tires. Vince.
Yes, indeed, Doc. The 4-tire change. Kevin Harvick hasn't had much success of late, as we noted in the pre-race, but they've not been completely disappointed with their car here in the early going. So 4 tires, fuel, and away for the 29.
Kevin Harvick said he's trying to duplicate what happened in 2003. When he came here that year, he had not won a race the entire season, and suddenly the win here turned his season around. Now let's talk about what he did. Maybe short pitting.
Well, they shorted it maybe a couple of laps. They were probably close to being due in, and here you see Kyle Busch making his pit stop. I'm expecting all of them in here in the next few laps.
Yeah, this wasn't exactly the scenario these drivers and teams were wanting. They wanted to make these pit stops under caution. Jamie?
Somebody else who's looking for a good finish, Kyle Busch, the 18 car. Steve Addington, his crew chief, said they are willing to take risks today. They need a top 10. 4 tires. He said he's loose, but they don't want to make any changes this early in the race. Guys?
Joey Logano in the 20 car. Remember, they had the engine problems early, but no issues with the race car at this point. It's handling well, and Logano has been happy with it as he's been making his way up the field. You see the team has just moved over to the left side for the 4-tire change in fuel for Joey Logano.
There comes Jeff Burton in to make his stop. The 31 car. Others are on pit road. The 17 of Kenseth is in.
These guys want to be extremely careful not to speed on pit road here, because it's a long pit road. If you have to come back down, it takes up a lot of time. Dave?
The 83 of Brian Vickers had been running in the 4th position. Very happy with his race car right now. Just a little tight in the center to the exit of the corner that reduced the air pressure in that right front tire. Meanwhile, Casey Kane had been running back in the 15th position. Him complaining that the right rear of his car needed to be popped up some more. Mostly tight on the 9 car. Track bar and wedge adjustment for Casey Kane. Jamie?
4-time winner here, Jeff Gordon, is already down and away. 4 tires. He said when he gets around other cars, he cannot pass. They're just hanging in there, being patient right now in the Jeff Gordon camp, guys.
Scramble off pit road. Sam Hornish, Marcus Ambrose is there. You see Casey Kane leaving. There comes Gordon down at 55 miles an hour.
We've seen a couple of seconds of drop-off in this tire during this long run, and you can't stay out there too long after these guys get tires. You lose too much track position. Vince?
Well, I think it gives you an indication of how well Juan Pablo Montoya's car is running, because he's not taking any changes at all. As for the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr., now you see 42. Just tires and fuel for Montoya, and he's away. For Jr., they're going to make an air pressure adjustment. Dave?
2nd position to be coming on pit road. The 48 of Jimmy Johnson is on pit road as well. He will take on 4 tires. It was getting just a little bit tighter at the end of that run.
13.8 second stop for Jimmy Johnson, and he will come out of the pits in front of Dale Earnhardt Jr. He came in behind him.
He gained a lot of time there, on the pit stop and probably getting into pit on the pit road and off of pit road.
Here's Tony Stewart coming down for his first scheduled stop of the day, being very careful. Look how narrow that pit road really is. Let's go down to Vince.
Tony Stewart's car, tight is the same, he said, from early on in the stint. He said that it's loose in and it's loose off, but it's a little bit better deeper in the run. They're going to give him 4 tires and fuel, of course. They're also going to make an air pressure adjustment to try to make it a little stiffer coming off the corner.
These guys are knocking out some pit stops, Andy. That's not easy to do. 13.7, 13.8 there. When you haven't had a stop and it's the first time you stop. And here's the 11 car of Denny Hamlin. Could they have run him out of fuel?
They absolutely could have. It's 32 laps of green flag running, not counting all the pace laps, so they could have.
I'm telling you, the shifter came off of the transmission.
He's already been in the pits, I believe. I think he has a transmission trouble.
Not bolted to the transmission anymore.
Oh, it probably happened coming off of pit road then.
You're really accelerating as you get out. Once you get to the end of pit road and get on the access road, you can go as hard as you want there. It's a little bit rough in places.
I had my hand on the shifter.
Denny Hamlin has had so many troubles over the years here. Lost a cylinder in 06, cut a tire in 07. And now he possibly some kind of shifter issues. Let's find out what may be going on. Go down to our Craftsman Tech Garage and Tim Brewer.
Tell you what, Jerry, with these transmissions are very delicate, especially when you get to places where you've run light oil in them in qualifying mode, because when you run light oil, they don't really get the lubrication they need. So if he had light oil in it and heated it up in qualifying, he may have done the damage right there. But that's where I would be very suspect of what went wrong with the transmission.
Thank you, Tim. And Andy, to fix that, it's
well, if it's internal, they're going to change the gearbox itself. The best thing they could hope for now is that it's just a linkage problem that they can fix quickly. But he's still rolling real slow.
Juan Pablo Montoya back on the racetrack, being shown in second spot because David Gilliland had not pitted. But look at the close call on pit road for Montoya.
Hey, see, John Andretti trying to get in his stall. Looked like he had overshot, tried to back up, and he got out of the way just in time.
This pit road's not big as it is, and that's less having something like that.
It's not wide. You know, the pit road's very narrow, but the pit stalls are real long, so you got a lot of room to get in and out of your stall as far as length. It's just the width is so narrow.
Now with the 71 coming on the pit road, it is Juan Pablo Montoya who is cycled back as the leader at lap 34 here at Indianapolis.
Continues on ESPN with 2 nights of action. First tonight, Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell at 8 Eastern. Jermaine Dye and the Chicago White Sox take on their AL Central rivals, the Detroit Tigers, led by Miguel Cabrera. Then on Monday Night Baseball presented by Holiday Inn at 7 Eastern, 2 of the best hitters in the game take the field. It's Manny Ramirez and the Los Angeles Dodgers against Albert Pujols and the Cardinals. Major League Baseball on ESPN and ESPN 360. For more, log on to ESPN.com. And from the ESPN Pit Studio, Alan Bestwick with Rusty Wallace, Brad Daugherty, and Ray Evernham. The race about to cross the 100-mile mark. Juan Pablo Montoya out in front of Mark Martin by about the same amount as he was before the pit stops, just over a second and a half. Initial impressions in the first run of the race?
My initial impressions right now is that the Goodyear tire issue they had last year is a non-event right now. The tires are on the full fuel run. Looks fantastic, so that's out of everybody's mind. Another thing I've been pretty impressed with, it looks like I can really get some passing done into entry of turn 3. That's where I've seen all the passes.
Yeah, for me, it's just been the fall off. The fall off of the tire is pretty quick and pretty abrupt. And what happens is it seems like everyone's gotten a little spread out. You can only stay in one position, so you better be ready to pass when you have the opportunity.
Well, really just the speed of the 42 and the 5, how they got out, and the 5 got behind and then ran the 42 back down as they're coming through traffic here. How much that slows the leaders down.
This has been an ongoing race for third position for the better part of the race. Tony Stewart in 14, Brian Vickers in 83. Vickers went by Stewart. Stewart went back by Vickers. Now after the pit stop, Vickers trying to chase Stewart down again. Only the one caution flag in the race so far. That one on the very first lap when Robbie Gordon got spun out of turn number 4. So Montoya leads as we get to the 100-mile mark, Doc.
Thank you, Alan. It's been a tough day here for some drivers, including this guy, the 2 car for Roger Penske and Kurt Busch. He started at the back of the field in 40th position, moved all the way up into the top 20, and then came down pit road to make his scheduled stop. But after coming in for the scheduled stop, guys, he had to come back on pit road on lap 35 because they had a loose wheel, and now he is being shown 1 lap down in 35th position.
Now, usually that's just a miscommunication, or actually the jack man not actually making sure whether both tires are tight and let him go just a little bit too soon, and he had to come right back in and get those wheels tightened up.
Andy, that's back to one of those things we talked about. It takes everything. If you're going to win a big race like this, really any race, but in particular this race, you can't have anything to go wrong. This has put Kurt Busch and his team really behind the 8 ball here.
There are still 31 cars on the lead lap, and right now David Gilliland is the first car a lap down. There is Menard and Andretti. Kurt Busch is there, so he can possibly get back as the first car a lap down pretty quickly and give himself a chance at the free pass when if the caution were to come out. Juan Pablo Montoya is the leader. If you just joined our coverage, Mark Martin was the pole sitter, led the first 4 laps. Then Montoya made the pass and has now led twice for 33 laps. Here's the car that made a lot of gain on pit road. In fact, gained 7 positions on that first pit stop, Andy.
Well, this is a green flag pit stop, and you can see that it's not just about the pit crew, although they did their job, but look at what Busch did. He beat Montoya 2 seconds getting on pit road and getting off pit road. So he did a great job there. Everybody's doing their job, and it gained 7 spots. Jamie?
Well, fast pit crew, but also they didn't make any changes, so it got them out of there quicker. They've gained 13 positions since the race started. Now that's good news, because in practice yesterday, Kyle wasn't thrilled with the car. They had balance issues, but Steve Addington told me at the end of final practice, they were happy. The car was the best it had been all weekend.
We've talked about how this is the very type racetrack that this race team last year and the beginning of this year has struggled on. Flat surfaces that doesn't have a lot of banking. There's only 9 degrees of banking in these corners, and this seems to be the type of track that's giving them some problems. Maybe they've got some things figured out here, Andy.
Definitely got it going the right way right now. Right now they're running 7th in the top 10. They can keep it together and adjust on this car properly as the race goes on, and I think that's one of the problems too. You got these flat tracks take a little different adjustments to try to get them right.
There's Mark Martin, and what a year he has had. 4 wins, now 4 poles for the 50-year-old driver. Dave.
And how does he catch Juan Pablo Montoya? He couldn't do it on the first run, Doc. The car was just a little bit freer than he liked, but he thought that the track might come to him, so they made no chassis adjustments on that first stop. But listen to his transmission to crew chief Gustafson after about 3 laps into this run.
Okay, buddy. Still pretty loose. We're going to have to put a little rear grip in it, I think. Yeah, careful. We'll fix it. Just take care of it. Either maybe air out of the right rear tire or the track bar down a little bit. It's just pretty loose.
Everybody knows Mark Martin likes a loose race car. Just not that loose right now, guys.
A lot of times you have that one thing in mind, that the car's going to tighten up as it gets rubber, and a lot of times it does. But this is a new tire, new combination. It's going to take a few runs for these guys to kind of figure out, is the car going to get better or is it going to go loose? And it sounds like Mark may need an adjustment.
Yeah, it also is continuing to get hotter out here, so the racetrack is getting slicker by that. So you can also get that oil down. We've seen guys had trouble. Here's a guy that's not having too much trouble. We see Tony Stewart right there. He's got the speed right now. He's probably the fastest race car as they've come back out from pit stops, lap after lap being the fastest. You can see, though, he's even having trouble passing David Gillen, a car that's a little bit slower. He's able to make that pass now. You can see he has a lot of open racetrack in front of him. See if he can make some time on Mark Martin and Juan Pablo Montoya.
DJ, you see him just jam that throttle and then back off on the short chute in the turns.
Yeah, you want to get to the throttle and be in as much as you possibly can, but you also have to let the car roll and carry that momentum, and Tony's really good at that. He's good at not jumping out of the throttle. He kind of rolls out, lets his car roll, but he's good at getting back to it and using as much throttle as possible.
Now, Denny Hamlin has taken the 11 car back to the garage area. Let's get an update from Shannon Spake.
Doc, the word is a broken drive shaft. The team told me that the shifter actually came off in Denny Hamlin's hand when he was coming down pit road after his pit stop. You can see the crew members in the car. Denny Hamlin's also in the car trying to get that fixed for him. 5th in the points coming into this race. They need to get back out there and get some points for this young man.
Yeah, he was the best Joe Gibbs driver in terms of point standings coming in here. You said mentioned 5th in the points with 6 top 5s and 8 top 10s. He had 4 top 5 finishes in the last 5 Cup races, and you saw J.D. Gibbs standing there watching the repairs on Denny Hamlin's car. It is Juan Pablo Montoya is leading here on lap 45. Back in a moment. Welcome back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, what has been called by many as the world's greatest race course. This is the Allstate 400 at the Brickyard, 16th edition. And now it's time to take a look at our keys on how to be a maximum driver delivered by UPS.
Now, these are the keys to the race. The green flag pit stops, which we have already seen, and later we may see some short pitting by these guys because you can really make some time on new tires. Fuel mileage could also come into play late in the race if these guys can stretch that, because these tires will definitely go a long way. And maintaining your track position. And if you don't maintain that track position and do all you can, you'll be having to deal with traffic, and you better have a good handling car in traffic. Right here's a car that doesn't need to be handling in traffic. He's seen that clean air since the start of the race, is Juan Pablo Montoya.
DJ, we saw this 42 car in both practice sessions yesterday be second quickest and obviously very, very confident. He said he had a shot for the pole, but obviously he went a little too late in the day.
Yeah, he did. That worked against him, but he's shown that he has the car today to really beat. It looks like everybody might run a little bit faster lap and be gaining on him, but his car seems to really hold on throughout the entire run.
Well, let's get you up to speed on the leaders, starting with Juan Pablo Montoya and Vince.
Well, and guys, I think one of the indicators that this car is really good and comfortable for Juan Pablo is the fact that he has said nothing on the radio. And if he's not on the radio complaining about it, you know it's good. He just got the reminder from crew chief Brian Patty to be aware as you come up on this lap traffic that you don't lose your momentum. Time your passes right. Dave?
Mark Martin radioed in that the balance is coming in on this 5 car after starting off very loose. That input from the driver, very important, because he didn't test here at all. And Alan Gustafson, his crew chief, said when we started this weekend, we were behind the 8 ball, even though our teammates had info for us. It was Mark's input in practice that got this car right, and we felt like we were starting the day on par with everyone else. Vince?
Tony Stewart is running 3rd in the 14 car, and the only other time Stewart raced this particular chassis, he won the All-Star race at Lowe's. That might be bad news for the rest of the field today, because Tony just came on the radio and he said, I'm good on entry, I'm good back into the gas, I like it. Dave?
On that first run, Brian Vickers was tight in the center of the corner, so they reduced the air pressure in that right front tire. We reported that. But on this run, it helped the center. He's now free into the corners. And here at Indy, especially into turn 1 and turn 3, being loose or free in is one of the worst conditions you can have. Jimmy Johnson runs that 48 car. Since the beginning of that run, he has gone tight to the center of the corner. Car doesn't want to turn as he goes toward the middle of the corner. His crew chief, Chad Canal, suggesting keep backing up the entry to that corner. That will help you. Vince?
Dale Earnhardt Jr. has lost a few spots from his original starting position from 3rd to 6th, but still not bad. Says he's losing a little grip in the right rear coming off the turns. Remember, this is the very first car that crew chief Lance McGrew has built from the ground up, and they've been good all weekend long, and no need to worry at this point yet. Jamie.
And behind him, Kyle Busch is lurking. If you guys remember back 2 weeks ago to the last race, it was a breakdown moment for this 18 team. They made a personal mistake on the car. He hit the wall. Everything could have gone wrong that could have, and he finished 33rd. Well, the team has regrouped. They came in. So far, so good today. Kyle hasn't said a word on the radio since that good last pit stop. Dave?
Greg Biffle had a good pit stop, too, as well, Jamie, on that first run. His car right now is loose in, and we described that condition for Brian Vickers. It's still hard to handle for this driver as well. They'll try to correct that on the next stop. David Rudiman has had a decent run so far, and he said his car is a little better after that first pit stop, although coming off the corner, he's still sliding the nose as soon as he steps on the gas. He'll try to slide it under Paul Menard right now. Jamie?
Your 2002 winner, Bill Elliott, at 53 years old. He's back in the field here at the Brickyard. He told me after missing this race last year, he didn't qualify. It means more to him now than ever. This car has been great, guys. He qualified 4th, and he's been hanging around top 10 since the beginning.
Yeah, I think we all wondered if he would be able to hang up there. Is that just a fast qualifying car and fast lap? But Bill Elliott's doing a great job keeping this thing in the top 10.
And the crew has, too, because they've made a green flag pit stop, and he's still hanging right in there.
So much history with the Wood brothers here. You know, they came here in 1965 and they were asked to be a pit crew for Jimmy Clark and Team Lotus, and Jimmy won the race because the Wood brothers did such a great job changing the tires on pit road. Now they're back here in 2009, and awesome Bill Elliott qualifying on the outside of row 2 and running very strong in the top 10. We are past the 50-lap mark here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and is Juan Pablo Montoya the leader. Let's take a look at today's NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race on the Now Network. Our current top 3 in points. Tony Stewart is the points leader. You see there's the official number of points as of right now. And second in points now would be Jimmy Johnson. He was 3rd coming into the day. And back in 3rd would be now Jeff Gordon, who was 2nd when the day began. And the top speed now is, wow, 205 miles per hour. That's the top speed recorded on the racetrack as of right now. And that from Juan Pablo Montoya. Find out what is happening now using NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile by texting NASCAR to 7777 on your Sprint phone, or visit sprint.com/speed. Juan Pablo Montoya, the leader. Mark Martin in second spot. Tony Stewart is third. Whoa, in the 18 car, we just heard a moment ago in break that he had said he may have an issue developing.
Guys, it looks like we blew it right front.
That tire could have been going down because I looked at the lap times and they had dropped off the leader by over a second the last couple laps.
Front car to the garage. Front car to the garage.
Okay, these guys are scrambling hard now because I'll tell you, they're close to that chase cutoff. We're coming down to crunch time, and they are really going to be motivated to get this car back on the track.
Yeah, that's more than likely going to put them outside of the top 12 at the end of this day.
Yeah, they were in 12th just a moment ago when he hit the wall. He had been complaining just a few laps early while we were in commercial break that he had a vibration in the right front. They were watching that car, and obviously it got him before he could get on the pit road. Now he heads back to the garage area.
That's such a hard decision as a driver to say, yeah, I've got to come down pit road. I have to come on because this is getting worse. You don't want to do that until it's time. You know you're getting closer to that, but obviously it was a difficult time.
Under caution for the second time today here on lap 57. Now let's listen to Kyle Busch.
Loose the whole run until I got behind that guy. Now tight. I'm going to need a new pair of eyeballs after this race because of the vibrations in here. I can't see.
Now you see that tire blowing going right in the corner. You know, but I looked at that car as they turned down into the garage area. There wasn't a lot of damage. I mean, it looked like they should have put tires on it, maybe just try to see what actually was wrong. But they went to the garage area to get it fixed.
29 cars on the lead lap as they head down pit road under caution for stops. Let's go down to Vince.
Tony Stewart will be the first to hit the box in the red Chevrolet. Of course, the car a little bit tight in the center still. A half-pound down in both right front tires and a turn up on the and a track bar adjustment up a half a round. The track bar going up a round and a half on the 42 of Juan Pablo Montoya as well. Says the car's a little tight off. Dave?
The 5-car Mark Martin gave up second position for a 4-tire change. It was a bit long, but he's going to hold on to second place. No changes for Martin.
There's the race off of pit road. You see Vickers up a spot, Biffle up 3 positions, Stewart back 4. All the adjustment. You see the tires they changed on the right side. All those guys changing 4 tires, and obviously a wise move here. Fresh rubber, a major factor. Now this is early on, but how as the race progresses, Andy, could we see that changing?
There'll be some opportunities late in the race when you don't have but 20, maybe less laps on tires, and you have a caution. Be an opportunity for that track position, but the tire falls off so much that these drivers are calling for 4 tires when that caution comes out.
Those drivers driving around the debris on the racetrack there from where Kyle Busch had bounced it off the wall.
Yeah, you got to be careful. I just saw Rudeman catch a piece of that. You really got to be careful, and you can't let your guard down, even under caution as a driver.
The 11 car of Denny Hamlin had been in and out of the garage, and now his teammate Kyle Busch in there, and all the Gibbs teams in there trying to work. They got them all together, trying to get in there and get Kyle Busch back on the racetrack. Whether he makes the chase could be determined how quickly they get him out of the garage here at Indianapolis.
The Indianapolis Motor Speedway opened for business on a beautiful July afternoon. Mark Martin led the field to the green flag in the 16th Brickyard 400, but Juan Pablo Montoya went by him on the 5th lap of the race. Montoya has led since, drivers scrapping for position on the racetrack and on pit road. But it has been Montoya's day so far. And this just the beginning, as always, of a busy week of motorsports on the ESPN networks. Later on tonight at 9:30 Eastern Time on ESPN2, it's the NHRA Fram Auto Light Nationals. That's later tonight. And a late night recap of the Indy race on NASCAR Now at 12:30 a.m. Eastern tonight, ESPN2. Then tomorrow, Monday, it's our NASCAR Now presented by the Home Depot Roundtable. That's ESPN2 at 5 Eastern Time. And next weekend's racing, the NASCAR Nationwide Series at Iowa Speedway, presented by GoDaddy.com. That's Saturday at 4 Eastern on ESPN. And the next Cup Series race for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, the Tricky Triangle at Pocono. Coverage presented by Old Spice. That's 1 Eastern next Sunday on ESPN. As we work the second caution of the race, at each yellow flag, the first car not on the lead lap gets the free pass or the lucky dog and gets to come back around and rejoin the lead lap. And this caution gave the Aaron's lucky dog free pass to Bobby Labonte. He was the first driver a lap down and now gets back on the lead lap. So good for the former winner of this race, this time driving the 96 car. He gets to come back around onto the lead lap. Now, as we get set to go racing, something we've learned here in the last moments. You saw the shot of Tony Stewart's car a minute ago. He lost 4 positions on the pit stop. Greg Biffle gained 3. And from what we've seen on the racetrack so far, those kinds of things are going to be critical.
Oh, those type of things right there are very, very key, Alan. One thing I'm noticing right now, it's very hard for these guys to pass. So it looks like the pit crew's definitely going to have to make up the big difference and get them out in front of these guys if they're going to win this race.
Yeah, one of the interesting things is the fall off of the tire. You're going to have to make a decision. Do I take 2 tires? Do I take 4 tires? Because the fall off is so significant that it's hard to advance your position. It's a double-edged sword for these guys today.
As we get ready for the restart, let's hear from Kyle Busch, who's back in Gasoline Alley. Shannon?
Kyle Busch has climbed out of his car. We saw the right front tire. Can you just tell us a little bit more about what happened out there?
Not really sure. Just unfortunate for the Snickers bar hungry Toyota Camry. I mean, we were running decent, you know. We were running there, I think, 15th or something, and had an awesome pit stop on pit road and got up to 7th. Just biding our time running there, and then got stuck behind the 71 there and had to push the right front a little bit. And from right at that point, I just started losing the right front tire, just getting real tight. Had been loose the whole run, so I didn't think I had been abusing it at all, but all of a sudden it just started vibrating, and then for 2 laps, and then blew out. So I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's our cars, the tire, I don't know what.
All right, the 18 guys are back here working on this car, definitely trying to get them back out on the track and get some points today.
Kyle Busch back in the garage area, and you saw way back in 14th position now in the point standings. He came into this race in 10th spot. We were talking about why the 14 car of Tony Stewart lost the positions on that pit stop a moment ago. Let's take a look.
Yeah, the pit stops are so critical. You see him coming into his stall. These stalls are very long. You see how short he stops in his pit stall. He's very shallow in that pit stall. Looks like they've got a pretty good pit stop going here. You don't see any real glaring mistakes.
Yeah, looks like a little time on the left front there, though.
A little time on the left.
A little longer time.
We've got a way to break this down, actually. We look at the difference here you see is in the actual getting on pit road and into his pit stall and then back off of pit road. And he lost a couple of seconds there, or a second and a half there, and it lost him 4 spots. You see the crew times are relatively close, but the total time is the telltale.
Comparing him to the leader Montoya, we also mentioned that the gaining 3 spots was Greg Biffle. Now getting set for another double foul restart, and Dale Jarrett, could Mark Martin do to Juan Pablo Montoya on this restart what Montoya did to him on the earlier one?
Well, you never know. I guess we've seen now that Montoya has chosen that inside. He has the option to choose inside or outside. We saw Montoya get right on Mark Martin's door, get him a little bit loose down there in turn 1. We'll see if he a little payback here.
Well, that's a little risky for Mark Martin. He's kind of sitting there on that edge of that cutoff for the chase, and if he does that and Montoya loses the car and crashes him, it could be risky for both of them. You see now Mark Martin choosing to go right behind Montoya.
And then Vickers right in behind Mark Martin, with Jimmy Johnson tucked in behind Vickers.
Yeah, that's the smart, mature driver in Mark Martin saying, this isn't the time to push that issue, just as you pointed out, Andy. He may try something like that as we get down closer to the end of this race if he's in that same position.
One thing I did see is he turned right across the nose of Brian Vickers. I guess knowing who you're racing with makes a big difference in that situation.
Here comes Tony Stewart on the inside of Jimmy Johnson for position.
Tony's shown that he has one of the best cars out here. He's one of the guys that we've seen be able to pass, and Jimmy Johnson is another one of those cars as he worked his way up from that 16th starting position.
But Montoya's car is just so strong from the start of the race.
Brian Vickers has been so good this year in qualifying, and they've been talking this week about what's the deal. The Red Bull team goes out and just knocks them out of the way in qualifying, but has trouble with being consistently fast on race day. They have found it at least for the first 60-plus laps here today.
And I think that's just something that comes along with a team maturing together. Everybody getting on the same page and trying things. They don't have time. They don't have testing sessions now, so you have to use each race as a test session to learn a little bit more about what you need to do. We can see right on the back bumper of Mark Martin right now is just working pretty good.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of those guys on that team, both teams, the 82 and the 83. Jay Fry, the manager. You see here, we've got some real racing going on here with Junior and Jimmy Johnson. So back to Ryan Vickers.
Another spot.
Back to Ryan Vickers. They were talking about that. They acknowledge that same problem. They know that they need to get better in races, and they've really been working on it. And you can see it's paying off today.
Vickers sticking there in third position. He has one career win. It came in Talladega some 84 races ago. Dave.
Well, guys, they need points every week. When I was talking to Ryan Pemberton this morning about, is Indy different? Do you treat it special? And he goes, right now I got to treat it like every other race. We need points. And if we put together a string of runs here, we could make our way into the chase. He started the championship chase in 16th position today. He's got to make up some ground. He said, don't get me wrong, I'd rather win here than maybe next week at Pocono, but we need points.
As we look at the leader here, Juan Pablo Montoya, guys, I find it kind of interesting. We talked to him in the pre-race show, and he was talking about, he wasn't that concerned about winning this race. It was more about getting points, getting himself in the chase. I wonder what he's thinking right now.
He's thinking win right now, I guarantee you. And that's the best place to be. That's the safest place to be. It's where he is. There goes Jimmy Johnson. He's on the move.
Every lap we run, it seems like that 48 car gets a little bit stronger and a little bit stronger. So what a surprise, huh?
Yeah, I was over here at the driving range. They have a golf course here, the Brickyard Crossing. Did a little deal with Jimmy's. Whoa, really loose right there, man. Better hold on. Nice job there. But I asked him, I said, Jimmy, should you be the favorite? Can you win this race? Very emphatically. He didn't waste a second. Yes, I'm the man to beat on Sunday. So that's what helped me choose him as my guy that was going to win this race. I think he's just kind of getting his car filling it out right now. It looks like if it were me, I'd be tightening that baby up a little bit, but he's able to drive it.
He's driving away from Tony Stewart.
One driver who's showing amazing patience is just 19 years old, Joey Logano. And if you just joined our coverage, Logano had to start at the back of the pack because of an engine change and drove all the way to the top 23 or 24 installed, but now being shown in 20th position.
That's not a surprise. I've really watched this guy in the Nationwide Series, and he runs with a lot of, it looks like, maturity. Even though he is a young guy, he doesn't take a lot of chances. He makes sure he sorts his car out, and he doesn't try to get it all at once. He's very methodical, and he's doing a great job here today.
We asked Joey Logano about the impact of working with a veteran crew chief like Greg Zipadelli.
Been there, done that, got the experience, and I think as a rookie coming into the series, to have a crew chief that has that experience helps me out a lot. Know what he's looking for during the race, and I think it's good. I think a relationship from where we started to now, even off the track, we can talk better, hang out with each other a little more. I think that transfers over to the racing side, building a relationship over there.
Couldn't be with a better guy, Andy. I know you as a crew chief and later as a car owner, you were developing a lot of younger drivers. And what is the key when you're a crew chief like Zippy here, trying to get a young man to build that confidence each week?
Well, I've never really been in the situation like Greg's in now with an extremely young driver. I had a few young drivers driving my Nationwide Series cars as I was a car owner. But I usually, in my career, I was working with veteran drivers like Harry Gant and Dale Earnhardt. That takes a whole different skill set, and I'm really impressed with Greg's ability actually to do what he's doing with this kid.
Yeah, you think he had to learn to go to Xbox 360 and play games and things to communicate a little bit with Joey?
Now, one car we haven't talked much about since the green flag wave was Carl Edwards, and Carl had qualified back in 41st position. Folks, last night he went over across town to O'Reilly Raceway Park and had to start dead last in the Nationwide car and drove it all the way to the front and won the race. Carl Edwards right now all the way up to 22nd position. Shannon.
Carl Edwards down here, guys, slowly making his way through the field. The car's a little bit too tight in the middle, but most recently they did have a little bit scare. Their water temp was a little bit high, but it is starting to come back down. The latest word was that it was 245. Guys?
There's Sam Hornish Jr. He's had some contact with the wall, and a right front tire has gone down. He was running in 14th position. Sam had been hanging between 11th and 14th for the whole part of this race early on, but now he's headed to pit road.
Got no brake.
Well, he says he's got no brakes, so he just gets loose off the corner. Tires were up until this impact. You see that hard impact on that right front, cutting the tire down.
Yeah, that was just way out of the groove there, and get up in the marbles now that these tires, the little bit of rubber that's coming off of them, makes it difficult.
Here's the 55 car, which apparently we are being told is overheating. Michael Waltrip on pit road, and he has been there for a couple of laps now trying to get some water in the radiator.
It's so hard to get these cars cooled down after they overheat. They're a pressurized system with a lot of pressure in there, and it's kind of hard to get that water, especially with that engine hot as it is, to get it to stay in the radiator and the reservoir.
It's a great shot right there. As you can see these cars come off of turn 4, all of them hung out. We're getting right next to the wall.
We are 10 laps away from halfway here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and it is Brian Vickers right now being shown in 3rd position, trying to get his first win of the year. Mark Martin, the 50-year-old pole sitter, in 2nd, and Juan Pablo Montoya, the leader. Montoya leading the Brickyard 400 presented by Golden Corral. Our aerial coverage provided by our good friends at Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. New Fuel Max tires help you have a winning fuel strategy. Coverage of Major League Baseball continues on ESPN with 2 nights of action. First catch Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell at 8 Eastern as Jermaine Dye and the Chicago White Sox take on American League Central rival, the Detroit Tigers, led by Miguel Cabrera. Then on Monday Night Baseball presented by Holiday Inn at 7 o'clock Eastern, 2 of the best hitters in the game take the field as Manny Ramirez and the Los Angeles Dodgers face Albert Pujols and the Cardinals. Major League Baseball on ESPN and ESPN 360. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. Here at Indianapolis, it is Juan Pablo Montoya who's trying to hit one out of the park and get his first win in NASCAR Sprint Cup on an oval. Mark Martin in 2nd place, Brian Vickers is 3rd, Jimmy Johnson 4th, and Tony Stewart now being shown in the 5th position. The 33 car, there's Clint Boyer. And we talked about the Richard Childress Racing Team and how it's been a bit of a struggle here in the 2009 season. But this is a brand new car for this operation. Now let's take you up to speed here on these drivers from 11th on back, starting with Dave Burns.
And Clint Boyer carrying the banner for RCR right now, running in that 11th position. And unfortunately, the car has remained the way it started the race. Tight, tight, tight all day long. They just haven't been able to get that car to turn for Clint so he can really work it through the corners. And so that's been the problem. That continues to be the problem. And he really hasn't gone anywhere since the start of the race. Vince?
Well, and right behind him is the RCR car of Kevin Harvick in the 29. You know, Harvick 25th in points compared to a year ago when he was 9th in points at this time. The main reason, 10 results worse than 25th. He had only 4 of those worse than 25ths all of last year. That'll do it to you every time. But he said earlier his car was bad fast. It hasn't been bad. He's made up some spots here so far this afternoon. The 43 car started 9th. That's Reed Sorensen. He's dropped back 4 spots since that start to 13th. He just came over the radio, said no front grip at all. Feels like junk right now. So Reed Sorensen got some work to do on the 43, Jamie.
And behind him, Bill Elliott, who was running top 10 most of the race. After the last pit stop, he said this set of tires didn't feel as good. They weren't the same at all, so he slipped back a few positions, running 4th right now, but great day overall so far for the 21. Behind him, Ryan Newman in the 39. Last pit stop, he said, I can't complain about the car. It's pretty good. They took 4 tires from Sunoco Fuel. Remember, he's an Indiana native, would love a good finish around here, but he hasn't been able to break the top 17. Behind him, Matt Kenseth in the 17. Again, no changes for him on the last pit stop. He tested here a couple times over the course of the last year, and actually his crew chief Drew Blickensderfer told me that they unloaded, they made a bunch of changes yesterday, and it ended up going back to close to how they tested here, so that paid off for him. Vince?
In 17th is the Home Depot car of Joey Logano. Remember, he started at the back because of that engine change, so to be running 17th right now shows a lot of progress for Logano. They were concerned earlier when Joey was feeling a vibration, but then they got a yellow, were able to come in and put on some fresh tires. He says it's a little tight right now, but he's still moving the right direction. Shannon?
Vince, despite what Scott Miller called a terrible qualifying effort, 38 for Jeff Burton, Miller told me it's pretty typical for this team to qualify that well. He said they normally don't have great runs in those 2 laps. He said he did feel that this car could finish in between the 9th and the 15th place. Right now, Jeff Burton been struggling with loose conditions, but they have been working on that car, and Burton is trying to get to that low side as you see him trying to make a pass around the 77. Dave.
Behind him, Martin Truex Jr. It's funny how you can change your world. Yesterday, during the 90-minute practice session they had here, that car was tight the entire time. Kevin Mannion said they made major changes, and he reported that it was 100% better. Well, today, opposite problem. Loose at the start of the race, loose during the second run. It's still loose. Complete opposite of yesterday. Shannon?
For Carl Edwards, he, of course, is part of the Roush Fenway camp, a multi-car team, and it has its benefits, but sometimes it has its disadvantages. The 5-car team of Roush Fenway, each car chooses a weekend that they'll come in and try something new. Well, this week it was Carl Edwards' turn. Bob Osborne did tell me that he felt that it was a little bit risky, especially because this is such a big race, but he said they really want to be ready for the chase, and hey, if it works today, then they're in a good place.
Halfway next time by, Juan Pablo Montoya is the leader. He will now have led 71 laps of the 78. Now, we talked about our up to speed and how it's a team effort here at Indianapolis. Look at the Hendrick Motorsports team. All 4 cars currently in the top 10.
Yeah, and that's leaving out Tony Stewart. He's almost a teammate to these guys. They're having a great day.
Halfway home here in the Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and as Juan Montoya's show thus far.
The Brickyard 400 coverage presented by Golden Corral from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where Juan Pablo Montoya continues to lead. In fact, he's built his advantage to Mark Martin to 3 seconds. Our McDonald's race rundown, what's happened so far. Of course, the NASCAR part of the Centennial celebration, 100 years of racing. Here at Indy, Mark Martin started on pole, but only held that top spot for the first 4 laps of the race, and then it was Juan Pablo Montoya who came calling.
Montoya got a great jump. He holds Mark down on the inside. You see Mark get a little bit loose, a little wobbly there. Juan sweeps around the outside and has taken off and has not looked back since.
And perhaps the other headline of the day was Kyle Busch.
It looked at obviously a cut tire, something like that, but right front tire went down. Kyle got into the wall, and that puts him in jeopardy of being out of that top 12.
And for the most part, Rusty, a very clean and green race.
It's been a real clean race. The one thing I'm really impressed with is the Earnhardt Ganassi turnaround with Montoya driving his car. Crew Chief Brian Patty has been doing a fantastic job crewing this car. We haven't talked about him much. He's doing really good. And Vince, he's got to be pretty happy right now.
Brian, this is your first full year as a Cup Chief. Your driver's leading the Brickyard 400. What changes do you look to make on the next stop? It's been so good so far.
Target Chevrolet's been really good all day. He hasn't said much about the car. We made a half-round track bar just for the last stop. Otherwise, it's been pretty good. But we've had a really good weekend. We haven't changed the chalk, the spring, or sway bar all weekend, so let's see if we can keep it up.
Looking to pit in about 10 laps, guys.
All right, Vince, thanks. And in this particular run of the race, the last stretch of, say, 20 laps, Montoya has really moved away from second place Mark Martin. That lead was a 1.5 seconds for a long, long time. That's a 4-second gap you're looking at.
Oh, that is a big gap. I mean, Montoya is just flat flying. But, hey, Mark Martin, that last time by, his lap time is almost identical to Montoya. And it's going back and forth, though, Ray. I mean, it's been equal, then a couple tenths faster. The lap times are moving around quite a bit.
Yeah, clean air seems to make a big difference with these cars. Well, we were saying last year we had too many cautions. This year we haven't had enough for some of those other guys to get their cars adjusted to be able to even get close to that 42 car.
The last contact with the wall we saw did not bring out a caution, but it did send Sam Hornish Jr. back to Gasoline Alley.
Caught up with him now. Sam, what led to your contact there?
The car was just really loose. We made a couple of changes on that last pit stop for us, and Scott up from underneath me, was trying to hold on, and unfortunate for the 1-1 Dodge, but had a pretty good car today. I don't know if we weren't strong enough to win, but we're strong enough to run in the top 10. So
put it under our belt, and go back and try again next weekend.
He was very confident coming into this race, guys, but the good news is Sam told me he will get back in the car and get back out on the track. Alan.
So tough day for one former Indy 500 winner, but a great day for another, Juan Pablo Montoya. Out in front of this race, green flag pit stops coming up. We come back to the Brickyard for all of that action in just a moment.
Welcome back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the Brickyard 400 presented by Golden Corral. We are just about 4 or 5 laps away from what should be the next pit stop. And Andy, by your calculations, if they make it to lap 92 and above, they can go on.
Yeah, if they can make it to lap 92, then they can make it on one more stop. So we'll be watching for these guys. It's lap 88 now. And they'll be looking to try to stretch that at least to the lap 92. If they do that, then they'll have to do that same amount of laps again. That's 34 laps.
Juan Pablo Montoya, the leader. There's the 5 car of Mark Martin has been trying to run him down. Dave, what are they talking about in their pits?
They've been talking about not making adjustments to the car because Mark doesn't want it to get too loose. But listen to this last transmission.
Yeah, I don't know about the right rear. You know, I needed to turn. I need to make a gain in the turn. Head forward to the front.
They're talking about the right front. They want to reduce the air pressure in that tire just to get it to turn a little bit more. But I'll tell you something, the one thing that Alan Gustafson said they don't want to do to Mark is make the car too loose at the start of the runs. Because how do these, when there's a yellow flag, guys, how do all these runs restart? Double file. And if your car is too loose, what can happen? Straight backwards. That's what they don't want to do to Mark, dial him out.
Thank you, Dave. So they're going to make some adjustments. You see Alan Gustafson there watching and waiting for Mark Martin. Meanwhile, on pit road, other crews are getting ready as pit stop should begin here in a lap or so.
And like I said, they need to try to stretch it to lap 92. We see Tony Stewart's guys on the wall. A lot of guys getting ready now.
And we are told Jeff Gordon will be slowing down to make his way down to pit road, and he had moved all the way up into the top 10 for the first time today. There is Tony Stewart coming down, Casey King, Jeff Gordon, Kevin Harvick. And it's going to be close here to make it to the end by pitting on lap 91. Very close. Coming down at 55 miles an hour. Let's go down to Jamie.
And Jeff Gordon said that his car's good in clean air, horrible around other cars. They knew that, though, in practice. Here he is. He pulls into his pit box. 4 tires. Last pit stop, they made a track bar adjustment. He said it helped. So look for that. You see the ratchet in the back window. They do it again, Vince.
Tony Stewart in the 14, 3 rounds of brake in the rear so far. He's making those adjustments in the car himself. They also put on the 4 tires. He says neither front tire doing anything right now.
Tony down and away. There's Casey Kane getting his service from the Dodge. You see Jeff Gordon coming down pit road, and Kane will be out in front of Jeff Gordon. There comes the 29 car of Kevin Harvick. Montoya still on the racetrack. He is yet to pit this time. Vickers. Here comes the 5 car of Mark Martin down. We're going to see if they make some adjustments to try to get that car to turn a little more. Dave.
And Doc, we won't see them. They're going to be not chassis adjustments, but air pressure adjustments. One thing crew chiefs like about that is it's an adjustment that you just bolt onto the car. There's no time wasted putting wrenches into the rear window. Watch him prove me wrong. But it's going to be air pressure out of the right front to help that car turn better. Mark also said, I want a drink and I want a windshield tear off. Jimmy Johnson is on pit road. He said his car is pretty good, but it's still a little bit tight to the center of the corner. Air pressure adjustments as well for the 3-time champ.
Another great pit stop for the 5 bunch. There's Johnson coming out. 16 car. And here comes Juan Pablo Montoya, our leader. Montoya has led twice for 84 laps today. He has had one great hot rod here at Indianapolis.
He's demonstrated the ability now to make it on one more stop by going to lap 92. He's down in front of you, Vince.
He's led more laps today than he has in his entire Cup career combined. The car has been next to perfect. They're going to make a slight air pressure adjustment, 4 tires and Sunoco fuel, but no major adjustments on this car all day. That tells you how crew chief Brian Patty hit it. Dave?
The 83 of Brian Vickers is in, starting to get a lot more tight in the center of the corner. Pretty good in clean air. They'll make a 4-tire stop full of Sunoco fuel. They will not make any adjustments to Brian Vickers' car.
Surprising, we're seeing very, very few adjustments at all on these cars.
Well, they're like Dave said, a lot of them are making adjustments with the air pressure, and that's the way you really need to do it so you don't lose time on pit road.
Here's Casey Mears. He becomes the 5th different leader here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Yes, he is the nephew of Rick Mears. And here's Jamie McMurray in for his scheduled stop.
And you talk about making adjustments. These cars, it's a very fine line of, we've heard these guys get their car, it was a little bit too loose, we make an adjustment, and then it gets too tight in the center. So you have to be really careful, and the driver really has to decide where he wants his car to be a little bit better and where he's going to have to fight it.
Yeah, because we heard Mark Martin say early in the race he was too loose. He really needed to tighten it up. Well, they did that. They made an adjustment, and it actually hurt Mark. If you look at his lap times and how much ground he lost to Montoya, that adjustment actually hurt him. So they probably went back the other way.
The one car of Martin Truex came in a moment ago. And, of course, his front tire changer, Dennis Terry, is carrying a microphone and a camera. Let's go over the wall and watch their stop.
Here we go. A lot of brake dust, a lot of brake dust. Good right side, real good right side. That'll get it. Come on. Here we go.
Pretty good effort by Dennis Terry. During the week, he is a landscape architect, folks. He has a bachelor's degree from NC State University, and on weekends, he's a tire changer here in NASCAR Sprint Cup. Let's check in with Shannon.
Casey Mears gives up the lead. He said, the car is neutral, but don't make me any freer. You see those guys putting 4 tires. This is a brand new car for Casey Mears. They had some struggles in practice. They went to the original setup, and right now it's pretty neutral.
You can see a big difference right there. We saw Juan Pablo Montoya come in 14.1. Not only is he getting it done with a good race car on the track, but his crew is doing a fantastic job too.
They've really been flawless in every area today, and that's what we've always said it takes to win this race. There's just nothing you can give up. See Montoya's hands on the steering wheel. They're so steady. They didn't really work on this car at all. You heard Brian Patty say they haven't changed a spring or a sway bar this whole weekend, and they parked a little bit early in happy hour.
You know, you mentioned Brian Patty, the crew chief. Juan Pablo Montoya and Brian Patty have a great relationship both on and off the racetrack. They work well at the racetrack. Away from the racetrack, they do a lot of things together. They go out and play golf, and they have that very solid chemistry, which allows them to communicate so easily. Vince?
Doc, that's a great point. And last July at Chicagoland, Brian Patty and Juan Montoya sat in Montoya's motor coach, and Juan told him, he said, whatever it takes to make the chase at 09, do it. We've got to get better. So over the winter, Patty and the team rebuilt every car from the ground up. For a year, they have been working for this position. They've been working to be in the chase. Right now, they're 9th in points and leading at Indianapolis.
And it has to do with the trust factor too, DJ. And Juan Pablo Montoya, I'm sure when he came here initially, didn't trust a lot of crew chiefs to tell him what needed to be done with the race car. But now he trusts Brian Patty, and he's listening, and that listening is allowing him to now be in the top 10 in the point standing.
You said a good word there, trust, and that has a lot to do with how aggressive a driver can be. We know he has a lot of aggression as a driver, but what could he go do with this race car? And he has that. Brian Patty is a very smart individual, has a lot of good things. He's on top of things. It seems like he's always been the guy that's been a little bit kind of out there. You know, he's not afraid to take a chance with things. When they work, that puts him ahead.
In 92 previous races, Juan Pablo Montoya had led a total of 57 laps. He has led 88 here today. Approaching the 100-lap mark here in the Brickyard 400 presented by Golden Corral. It has been Juan Pablo Montoya's day. You know, when he won the Indianapolis 500 here back in 2000, he led 167 of 200 laps. And Dale Jarrett, I guess when he gets a lead, he doesn't want to give it up.
You have a car like that, there's nothing else you can do. You know, I would bet that he's probably not put this car to its full extent as how fast it can possibly run. But he just likes that clean air. He's doing a fantastic job. I can assure you, when you get a car like this, especially at this difficult of a racetrack, it's a lot of fun to be out there passing cars, putting people a lap down.
And he is pulling away from the competition. Let's listen to their radio.
There's nobody close, man. Focus on the track.
All the guys behind you got 1 lap more on the tires than you do. Sweet.
That's good to hear. I mean, you're pulling away, nobody close, and they've got a lap more on their tires than you do, so there's no bad news at all in that communication.
No, that's all good, and right now that puts him in the driver's seat as far as being able to save his tires and kind of save his stuff. Doesn't have to race anybody hard.
Yeah, you know, they were one of the last ones to come on as far as the lead group, too, so that allows them to be a little bit longer, too, and see what everybody else might do. Not that anybody's going to do anything if this continues to be green, as we watch Brian Vickers and Jimmy Johnson battling for that third spot here now. Jimmy Johnson might be deciding, okay, we're not going to have any cautions to get me up there. I'm going to have to assert myself a little bit more on the track as we get closer. Got 60 laps to go now.
How long do you wait? I mean, we're going to have one more stop, somewhere about 35 to go. Do you need to start inching up now, or do you still save your stuff?
You better turn it up about now, because you can see he sees third right in front of him, and then Mark Martin's just ahead of that. So he needs to get himself up there in that position in case we would have a caution to be able to be in that spot.
Well, one thing I'm seeing here, there's only 2 cars that have demonstrated the ability to make it on just one more stop. And that was the 42 car and the 83 of Brian Vickers. All the other guys, they may be able to stretch that fuel, but they'll have to start doing it now if they're going to try to make it if this race goes green.
One thing that Jimmy Johnson has that the other ones don't have is he has Chad Knaus on the box calling the shots. And we asked Jimmy about working with someone as talented as his crew chief, Chad Knaus.
Chad's mind never stops. That's his biggest attribute. It just never quits working. And long races, tracks where the weather conditions change the surface and the grip level, Chad and our guys do an awesome job of that and step up to the challenge. So he can also see a car as I'm explaining it to him. He can visually in his mind see what the suspension is doing and how to get more grip in the race car, which is really amazing to me. So I just feed him full of information and let him make the decisions he needs to.
Jimmy's talking about how smart Chad Knaus is. I'm wondering, Dale Jarrett, if Jimmy Johnson's being a little smart here.
Could be. You know, Jimmy's the only one that knows this right now. We've seen how hard it is. You can catch a car, but then to pass him, he could possibly, Andy was talking about he only sees a couple of cars that may be able to make it. He might be using the draft here a little bit to save some fuel, so he might be in there and then getting a little bit of help.
What he did, he went 33 laps under that last run. He would have to go 34 and then 35 or 35 and 34 to make it to the end of the race. And he hasn't, like I said, by pitting at lap 33 on his fuel tank, he hasn't demonstrated the ability to make it. Right here, he could be stretching it if he's getting out of the throttle and able to run down the straightaway.
There's Jimmy Johnson being shown in 4th spot. Now, finally moving up into the top 8 is that 24 car. That's the highest Jeff Gordon has been all day long. Jamie.
Exactly, Doc. He started 22nd. They've been working on this car. It's getting better. How extreme are you guys willing to go in order to get to the front before this race ends in 60 laps?
Well, we put ourselves behind this whole weekend. We didn't give Jeff the DuPont Chevrolet he needed to get it qualified up front. We started in the back. The car's getting better. I think it's good enough to win if we can get up there, but we can make it on one more stop. I'm not sure all the leaders can, but we're going to be adventurous. We're going to get out there, be as great as we can, try to get us a win. We fought hard all year to be able to come here and fight for the win. That's what we want to do.
Steve said they're going to be adventurous. They're not thinking about points. They're going for the win today, Doc.
Thank you, Jamie. We talk about the fact that at least half of the races here, the eventual winner has not led until after lap 100. And Dale Jarrett, when you won here, you didn't lead until lap 135.
Yeah, there's a lot more to go. Just because it looks like the 42 car has been out there and kind of running away with this thing. We have a lot of racing to do. History tells us, though, to watch the last 30 laps of this race.
We were talking about how tires should not be a factor, and they have not been. But now, because the tires are so good, Ray Evernham, are we talking about a fuel mileage race?
Yeah, and listen, you guys up there talking about a couple laps, and right now it looks like that, if you take a Jimmy Johnson, for example, they're getting about 4.5 miles per gallon. It really only takes just a little bit. If he can stretch it to 4.75 miles a gallon, just a quarter of a mile per gallon per lap over the course of a tank, gives him 2 laps. And that's just a couple hundred RPM or a little bit of drafting throughout the run. So that 2 laps is a pretty easy figure to make up. The bad news is that Juan Pablo Montoya can do it, and he's got a 5-second lead.
Yeah, right. And they've proven they can do it. Here's the problem with trying to stretch that fuel mileage. You have to stretch it 2.5 miles in a run because it takes 2.5 miles to get back to the pit area. And if you push it and you miss it by a little bit, it can cost you dearly.
Right, Andy. And that's what you said. They've got to start now because it is just a few hundred RPM at the end of the straightaway per lap, but it's got to start over the course of that run in order to do it.
Let's listen on the 48 radio.
Just remind
I'll do that.
Well, I think that tells us he's not up there to draft.
Yeah, I think that answers that
won't
question.
buy him, and it's tough to pass.
54 laps to go here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and Juan Pablo Montoya has dominated here, leading 3 times for 98 laps. Back in just a moment. Juan Pablo Montoya continuing to lead here in the All-State 400 at the Brickyard. 51 laps to go. It is Montoya, Martin, Vickers, and Jimmy Johnson, last year's winner, now back in 4th position. There comes Johnson right behind Vickers, and he starts moving around on the inside and the outside. Starting to get a little antsy back there.
Yeah, he really wants to round this 83 car, and he's trying to get those guys to tell Brian to let him go, because we still have a lot of racing to go. And it's holding him up quite a bit and overheating his right front tire trying to get by.
Yeah, Jimmy's looked like he's a little better through the corners, but Brian's been really good as you see him make the pass now. Vickers was holding him up because he could really get off of turns 2 and 4. Jimmy couldn't take advantage of that, but now he's got some clean air. Let's see what he does.
Just behind that battle is the 14 car. There comes Tony Stewart, also a 2-time winner there. There's Stewart in 5th, and behind him Biffle in 6th. So Tony's car, Tony known for saving his stuff until he has to late in the race.
And Greg Biffle's running some fast lap times right now too.
So Stewart is 5th, Greg Biffle is 6th. You see there's Biffle coming through, hanging on to his car. And back about 15 car lengths is the 9 car of Casey Kane. Dave.
Doc had a few reports of debris on the grill from several cars today, including Kane's. When crew chief Kenny Francis asked him about the temperatures, yes, they were very high, but Casey said, you know what, my car's better. So they came down on one pit stop, cleaned off the grill, and put tape on instead. They realized they need the downforce. But what about all this debris at this racetrack? Tim Brewer in the Craftsman Tech Garage, is this normal?
Very much so, Dave. Ideally, you would like to control the airflow, the drag, and the downforce of the car with the tape. But throughout the event, you're going to have paper, you're going to have grass, and that rubber coming off the tires, it actually plugs up the surface of the grill. But like the guy said, if the water temperatures are high, you have to clean it off. But during the end of the race, if you want to get better fuel mileage, more downforce, don't clean the grill off.
Yeah, if you can stand a little temperature, it helps to get that grill plugged up a little bit.
Well, some of the debris early in the race today came from the 18 car hitting the wall. And now Kyle Busch is back on the racetrack in the 18 car, being shown 46 laps down in the 38th position. Also the 77 back in, Sam Hornish. He's 39 laps down in 37th spot. There's Jeff Gordon in the 24 car trying to make history today by becoming the 5th winner here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the oval. Well, here are the current standings for the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year, and these points again are accumulated by the team who wins a race and by also fan voting and an ESPN pick, and it is Jeff Gordon's team right now who leads the standings. Earnhardt Jr., Stewart, and Kenza. You can make your pick for the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year by texting the car number for the pit crew you think is fastest and most valuable in each race to 2258. Standard text rates apply. Moving in on what should be the final pit stop of the day, Juan Pablo Montoya is the leader. Martin, Johnson, Vickers, and Stewart the top 5.
Approaching the 300-mile mark today in Indianapolis, and later on tonight, the Fram Autolite NHRA Nationals finals are on ESPN2 at 9:30 Eastern Time. A wrap-up of the Indy race tonight, 12:30 Eastern on NASCAR Now, ESPN2. Then our NASCAR Now presented by the Home Depot Monday Roundtable. That's Brad, Rusty, and Ray tomorrow at 5 Eastern Time, ESPN2. The next weekend, the racing's on ESPN, the Nationwide Series at Iowa, presented by GoDaddy.com. That's Saturday at 4 Eastern. And the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at Pocono, presented by Old Spice. That's 1 Eastern next Sunday on ESPN. So with 116 laps complete, 120 will be the three-quarter mark of this race. Another round of green flag pit stops to go. And from the pit studio, Ray Evernham, Brad Daugherty, Rusty Wallace, your thoughts of what we're seeing so far?
Well, it's what we're not seeing. We're not seeing cautions that are giving these guys enough pit stops to get in and work on those cars. And F42 has been so dominant, nobody's able to adjust to catch them.
But we're going to see more cautions.
Well, I had my logistics and figure, and it doesn't look so good. So we'll see.
What are you thinking?
Well, I'm looking at these double file restarts. restarts. If they have a caution late, these double file restarts, these guys are going to flat go crazy because they've been having a really tough time passing. I will promise you they will not let that opportunity pass. So if this caution flag comes out, if it does happen, look out, baby.
Oh, my goodness, guys. Look what Juan Pablo Montoya has done. I mean, he's led 109 of 117 laps this far. He has been just unbelievably dominant. I can't see the scenario changing between now and the next 43 laps. He's on his way to victory lane.
Leading Mark Martin by 4.8 seconds. Vince Welch is in the Montoya pit.
Well, as a good luck charm, Juan Pablo Montoya had his car and his driver's suit, the same designs he carried when he won the Indianapolis 500 in 2000. And also as a good luck charm is Greg Steinhoffel, the CEO of Target. He's here watching Juan Pablo run this race today. And he was also here when Scott Dixon drove the Target car to victory in the Indy 500 in 2008. So Steinhoffel's already kissed the bricks. He hopes his driver Juan Pablo Montoya gets to kiss them this afternoon.
Of course, they're using the retro paint scheme from that win back in 2000. It's the same paint scheme. They had the Indy car here out on in victory lane. They had it beside the stock car. The lightning bolts on the side, the lightning bolts on the uniform on the day when Juan Pablo came here as a rookie. He had never run the Indy 500 before and led 167 laps.
You know, he's had a lot of fun up to this point, leading a lot of laps, Dale, but it's getting down to the last 40 laps of this race. At what point do you start really thinking about winning, and how is that going to affect you from here to the finish?
I would have to say that he's thinking about that right now. He knows he has the dominant car. It's up to him not to make a mistake from this point. His pit crew's doing a tremendous job. He's catching a lot of cars. He's just going to have to make sure that he's able to keep that momentum as he catches them, make sure he's passed them at the right spot, not taking any chances.
Saw the margin there between him and Martin at 4.7 seconds right now. Montoya, the Martin. And of course the 00 and the 29 car having a pretty good battle on the racetrack. That's for 10th spot, David Rudiman and Kevin Harvick.
Yeah, certainly one of Kevin Harvick's best runs of the year. I know he has to be very encouraged that he's able to be battling for a top 10 spot. I know he'd like to be up there battling for a win, but the way this season's gone, I would say a top 10 here would be very good for him.
See Rudiman there in front of Harvick. David Rudiman's done a nice job over the weekend. A fifth place qualifying effort. He's running the top 10 most of the day, and he's trying to hold off Kevin Harvick in behind that 71 car of David Gilliland.
Yeah, Rudiman's done a terrific job all year long. He's really shown how far this Michael Waltrip team has come. He's been a factor pretty much everywhere that they've been this year, being able to run up in the top 10.
You were talking about Harvick here and all the speculation the last week or so that he would leave this team, and we were visiting Richard Childress the other night, and he said, nope, we have the Shell Pennzoil folks on with us through 2010, and they anticipate Kevin Harvick being there as well. Laps are clicking down, just 40 to go here. We are about 7 or 8 laps away from pit stops, and it's Juan Montoya, the leader. Just 38 laps remain here in the Brickyard 400, presented by Golden Corral. At Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it has been a Juan Pablo Montoya kind of day. Montoya now a 4.6 second lead over Mark Martin in second position, and we are just a few laps away from what should be the final pit stop. And guys, yesterday we had a 4-hour rain delay in the schedule. Of course, and that pushed qualifying back, but also pushed happy hour back.
Yeah, it certainly has made a difference, and plus we have, those times were a lot later in the day, and as we see Greg Biffle starting to come into the pits, maybe a little bit early. Dave?
Very loose race car for Greg Biffle. They were going to make a track bar adjustment along with some air into the right front tire, but Greg Irwin called that off, so just a right front tire air pressure adjustment. The 9 car of Casey Kane in as well. They'll make a wedge adjustment for that race car, and I think they took a swipe at the grill.
Pretty early, Andy. It's going to be stretching it to make it from here, huh?
Well, those guys are not going to be able to make it.
Yeah.
See the right front tire changer, putting the clean wheel, new one back on there.
That's Dennis Terry, the Martin Truex car.
Quick pit stop. Nice pit work.
Nice clean stop there, getting the lugs on and off. Now Kevin Harvick coming down pit road for what should be his final stop. Vince.
Well, Kevin Harvick, remember we told you beforehand, needed a good day today, and they're having it. They've moved from 19th starting position up into the top 10. The car's a little bit tight, though. They're making an air pressure adjustment on the right sides. Also a track bar adjustment on the 29 of Kevin Harvick. Shannon?
Carl Edwards tight in the center. They're going to try to free him up with a wedge adjustment. It was 4 tires. The track position is killing the 99 today.
Harvick coming out, and they will come down to, there comes the leader, Juan Pablo Montoya, for his final stop. If they get a good clean stop, it's his race basically to hang on to win. Vince.
Juan Pablo Montoya says the car's just a little bit loose. They're going to make a slight air pressure adjustment, a half-pound up on the right rear. Otherwise, things are good for Juan Pablo. They said the car is really good. They just wanted the crew to make sure they had a good, clean stop. Now the 14 car of Tony Stewart. He says the center is still tight and it's still free off the turn. So they're making a slight adjustment on Tony's car to try to get it better through the turns and off the turns. Dave.
Does Mark Martin have anything for Juan Pablo Montoya? He's already gone up pit road. You see Jimmy Johnson's crew high-fiving. They took a big swing at their race car to help it. The 5 of Mark Martin has left pit road. Same adjustment as last time. Air pressure out of the right front tire to try to help Mark gain speed on the track.
Check that.
42 car was too fast on pit road in 2 different segments.
You know, never badmouth NASCAR, but if they do this to me, I'm going to kill them.
And we're hearing numbers that are just absolutely just barely over the limit. They give him 5 miles an hour, and that puts it to 60 miles an hour, and he's just a couple of tenths over, but this is going to be devastating.
So Montoya has to come.
There's no way. I was on the green, 3 green lights all the way from before, maybe 30 yards before the line. Thank you, NASCAR, for screwing my day.
Man, this is heartbreaking.
Relax. We had this in the bag, and they screw us because I was not speeding. Don't speed exiting. Get you out there, Tim.
So he has to serve the pass-through
Stand
penalty.
on here. We'll have a good spot over here on the back.
Well, the thing is, they give you that grace period, that 5 miles an hour. How close do you guys push that, Dale?
Yeah, you push it. I mean, with everything that you have to work with now, you push it right to the limit. But, you know, you want to keep that there. I understand his frustration. This is done electronically. This has nothing to do with somebody sitting up with a stopwatch or anything anymore. It is right on, and they have a red light and a green light. And whenever you go over just a little bit of that 5 miles an hour that they give you, then they're going to penalize you.
This pit road is divided into 7 different segments, and there are sensors under the pits.
Oh, something's wrong with Junior.
And the big plume of smoke.
Oh, man.
Careful getting on the brake. Careful getting on the brake.
Blown engine for Junior. That's too bad. He had a great run going.
And a huge break for the 42 car as well, as Junior now coasts down pit road. Obviously with engine.
Go to the garage. Yeah, I think it's my fault.
He said he thinks it's his fault. It could have been on that round of green flag stops. He could have missed a gear or over revved it at some point.
You can see stuff coming out of the back of that car.
That gun.
I might have flipped the clutch or something then.
Having such a good run
Might
here.
have tore the clutch out of it. It wouldn't rev up though, so I don't think that's it.
It's almost similar to what we saw Denny Hamlin, the problem he had coming off of this concrete. That will break a lot of parts.
That will give Bobby Labonte the Aaron's Lucky Dog free pass. He was the first car a lap down, so he, for the second time today, will be able to go around and get back on the lead lap. That will give us now 26 cars on the lead lap here with 32 laps to go.
And brings up a lot of questions here, Andy. Who can make it? Who's going to have to pit?
Well, this
Montoya should help him.
Having the cautions right here, these caution laps, Ray, are going to let some of these guys extend that run and maybe make it to the finish. What do you think?
Right now, I'm looking for is Montoya a lap down? That's what I'm looking for on the sheet. If not, you stay out.
He's lead lap.
Lead lap, then you got to stay out.
And he's Ray. He's been able to go or demonstrate that he can make it all the way anyway. Some of these other guys have not done that. That some of them needed this caution and these caution laps to make it to the end.
Yeah, he can hope that some guys ahead of him can pit, and he's going to slow up. His car is fast enough. Whether or not he's got enough time to get through traffic, we'll see.
Good. I guarantee you. I swear on my children and my wife, I was not speeding. This is the second time this year in Phoenix. They made a mistake and they admitted afterwards. This is the second time. They better look at that. Tell them to look at it closer because, you know what I mean? I
Yeah, he's feeling something funny right now. While he was talking about that speeding penalty, at the same time he's feeling something wrong, and he may be running through that oil that was put down by the 88 car.
He'll really need to try to figure out exactly what that is before he comes down pit road if he doesn't have to.
Yeah, there's 22 cars on the lead lap right now, 23 cars on the lead lap. He's running 12th. He's kind of right in the middle of them, and he would definitely want to stay out right here if he can.
And just adamant that he was not speeding on pit road. And he talked about the green light they have on the instruments on the dash, which shows them that they are at or close to the pit road speed limit of 55 miles an hour.
And the pit road is closed this time by. They have a safety truck sitting there trying to clean up the oil from the 88 car. So these guys are going to have another lap to figure out what they want to do.
Now watch the fuel can on the back here of the Vickers pit stop.
And you see the first can's empty. They've got the second can in right here. They want to try to get this thing absolutely as full as possible. And he holds. Oh, man. See, he tried to leave it in that extra split second to try to get that fuel in there. Almost cost him.
And had that can rolled over the line and left the pit box, that would have cost Brian Vickers one lap. They'd have brought him in and held him a lap. That's a one-lap penalty. He got very lucky.
Very lucky on that one. It's going to be interesting to see now what these leaders do, because they've just run a few laps. They don't really need to come in unless they absolutely cannot make it to the end without fuel.
Yeah, it wouldn't be for tires at all. They know they're in good shape as far as the tires go.
Mark Martin's already proven this year that he can save gas, and he's been able to pick up a victory by being able to use the throttle and save some gasoline.
He might get another chance today. He's got a fast car too, but Jimmy Johnson has actually been chipping away at the lead that Montoya had, and also on Mark Martin. They got very, very competitive, close cars, so this is going to be a race.
Tremendous cleanup going on there where Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s engine erupted, and they're trying to get all that liquid up at the entrance of pit road. As you watch the cleanup, we mentioned Jimmy Johnson had talked about taking a big swing at this car and making huge adjustments, and now they no longer has to run down Juan Pablo Montoya, at least for now. Might they have gone too far, DJ, on an adjustment like that for the 48?
Well, that's a chance you'd take, but you know those guys are the best really on this pit road at making adjustments and making them right and doing the right things. And as Rusty Wallace said earlier, now that this caution has come out, these double file restarts are going to be the key. I don't think we've seen our last caution now. I know we went a long time. We haven't had many cautions today, but as we've said many times before, cautions breed cautions, especially with this double file restart.
Mark Martin is the leader. We're under caution for the third time today. It'll be less than 30 laps when we come back, and Montoya back in 12th position. Back at Indianapolis, the Brickyard 400 presented by Golden Corral. We are working caution number 3 on the day. The 88 car having an engine issue, just erupts in a plume of smoke. He has gone back to the garage area. And that there stands Dale Earnhardt Jr., Lance McGrew to his right, the crew chief, as they discuss what happened internally in the car after that pit stop just a moment ago.
I think still a promising day for those guys. They had a brand new race car here. They ran a lot better than what they've been running. So I would, even though they're not going to get the finish, they have to be pretty pleased with what they saw.
So if we can figure out what may have happened, let's go back to our Craftsman Tech Garage and Tim Brewer.
Thanks, Jerry. Coming into pit road, if he downshifted it early, it may have broke the valve spring then. But when we go to their engine animation, we've got a engine description right here of when the valve spring actually breaks, it puts the valve out of timing with a piston. And what's going to eventually happen, it's going to come in, and my touch screen, when the valve gets out of timing, it's actually going to hit the piston, bending the thing. And when you're turning excessive RPMs, it's going to be catastrophic, because when the valve drops down on the piston, your day's basically over.
Well, that explains it very simply, and it can be over instantly. And we just saw that big puff and a plume of smoke, and they still have kept pit road closed because of trying to clean up all the debris, all the fluid up at the north end of the racetrack. What a good run Dale Earnhardt Jr. Was having. There's the cleanup going on. Now, this disaster for the 88 car was a big break, though, for the 42 of Juan Pablo Montoya. Let's go down to their pits and Vince Welch.
With Felix Sabatas, one of the owners, along with Chip Ganassi and the Earnhardt gang. And Felix, can you put into words the disappointment when you heard that Juan Pablo was charged with speeding on pit lane upon exit?
Can you imagine we lead 3/4 of the race, and with 25 laps to go, they penalized us. I don't know whether he was speeding or not. NASCAR said that he was, and they have the pictures of it. So I just wanted to show it to me after the race, and they showed it to me that he was speeding. I'd be happy with that.
Certainly disappointment down here in the Juan Pablo Montoya pits. And guys, you may have heard on the radio that Montoya indicated he felt like he'd picked something up on his tire, whether it was oil or whether it was a flat. They know now it's not a flat tire, but they are anticipating Juan Pablo Montoya will change 4 tires and take on some fuel here in this last final stop when the pit lane opens.
Thank you, Vince. Right now he's in 12th position. There are 24 cars on the lead lap, and Montoya, again, if you just joined our coverage, they got him, charged him with speeding, exiting pit road in 2 different speed segments. He had to do a pass-through onto the green and came back out. Then the caution comes out. That's why he is still on the lead lap.
Hey, Ray, what do you think about this decision of Brian Patty to bring him down pit road for tires right now?
Well, right now they've got a concern about their tires. That's going to put them back further. I mean, but really they lost their chance to win this race, I believe, with that pit road speeding. And they had to be more than 5 miles an hour over. And the question I would ask, Andy, is why with a 5-second lead on your last pit stop, what would you be playing it that close?
Boy, that's exactly what I'd be asking too. And but you know, he's trying to do. He's pumped up. He's wanting to win the biggest race he's ever won in a stock car, and he's trying to do everything he can, and he pushed it just a little too far.
You think Brian Patty just putting that word out there, trying to get some others to come down pit road?
Could be. Let's just see what they really do. Yeah, now Brian Patty would do that.
Let's go down, and Jamie's caught up with Dale Earnhardt Jr.
And he's been debriefing back here. Junior, right after the puff of smoke, we heard you come on the radio and say, I think that was my fault. How so?
Well, just the motor broke coming out of the pits under acceleration, so that I just assumed that the motor broke in first gear leaving the pit stall. I could have possibly over-revved it a little bit or something like that, but I had a great engine, and we don't ever break them. So normally when they do break, it's something me or somebody else did. But we ran good. Amp Energy National Guard Chevrolet was competitive today, and we were making some gains and kind of adjusting back and forth, trying to get the thing right, getting it too tight, getting it too loose. And I was pretty happy with it at the end of that last run. And we were just in our window to make it to the end and pitting early. And I expected NASCAR was going to throw a couple more cautions for the end of the race, but we felt like we were in good shape to get a good finish. And we just hated for my guys. They've been working really hard, and this is a brand new car, and we're going to take it to Pocono and keep working at it and just keep our heads up.
This team came in optimistic. As he said, it's a new car, and Lance McGrew built this car, so they have a lot of hope for next week in Pocono. Doc?
Thank you, Jamie. Leaders staying out on the racetrack. There are some, though, that opted to come down pit road. The Clint Boyer is there, Michael Waltrip. And while those come on the pit road and we're under caution, let's visit with our in-race reporter, Tony Stewart.
Hey, Smoke, Dale Jarrett, the ESPN. You got me?
Yeah, bud.
All right, man, we're getting down towards the end. Looked like the 42 might have had everybody covered, but kind of a new race now. What have you got for these 3 guys in front of you?
Well, Darian made some changes that last time. We didn't really get enough of a run there before the caution came out to see exactly what we've got here, but we've been fighting a little bit tight in the center. He freed us up, so hopefully it's going to be enough to get this Old Spice off his Depot Chevy to roll the center of the corner. And we've been just about running Mark's pace. I mean, he's been a little quicker than us all day, and the 48 and 16 and I and 83 behind us, we've all been about the same pace. So it's just who gets the jump on the restart and who can get out there and make some good laps early.
Tony, you're going to be starting actually in the second row on the outside here. Is that outside groove good enough for you to get a really good restart here and make something happen then?
Well, the 88 car restarted out there the last restart we had there. He restarted on the outside and made up 2 spots. So I'm hoping so. I mean, we're close enough to the front that it should give us good enough track position to do something. So, they've done a good job of cleaning that second groove off a little bit so we can't run too wide. So we'll have to wait and see.
All right, man. Thanks for talking with us, and good luck, buddy.
Hey, Darian Grubb, Andy Petrie in the booth. You got us?
Before I got you.
Hey, Darian, a couple of questions. Did you have enough fuel to go all the way if this thing did not have a caution right here? And do you have enough now with all these laps we've run?
Yeah, we didn't have enough fuel there. Right now, we've got a little bit. We're banking in the tank for in case we have a green-white checker at the end. But It's going to be an interesting race now. We freed it up a bunch because we were back in traffic after we had a little bit of a bad pit stop on that first caution. So hopefully we're not going to be a little too free now that we got up there and got into clean air.
Well, good luck, and we hope to see you have a good finish here.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Getting down to crunch time here at Indianapolis. 27 laps to go. Mark Martin, our pole sitter, is the leader. We were asked the question, could Mark become the oldest driver to ever win at the racetrack? At the age of 50, he is leading now in the final laps. Back in a moment.
The 2009 running of the Brickyard 400 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway down now to its final 25 laps. Some drivers with trouble early, including Kyle Busch. Tony Stewart had a bad pit stop early. The man who dominated most of the event, Juan Pablo Montoya, now trapped back in traffic after being tagged for speeding on pit road on his green flag stop back at lap 125. That handed the lead back to Mark Martin, who has not led since lap 4 of this race. Now he's got his teammate at Hendrick Motorsports, Jimmy Johnson, alongside as they go for one of NASCAR's shootout-style double-file restarts. Dave?
Which hat Knaus now, and you will not have the option on which line you would choose. If you did, would you rather be inside or outside?
You know, I don't know. We haven't been up there yet, so it's kind of hard to tell. I think that, you know, honestly, Mark took the inside there. I think that the outside may work well for us here, so we'll just have to wait and see. You know, the Lowe Chevrolet's been running great all day. I don't think there's been anybody pass as many cars as what we've had, and really, really proud of the job Jimmy's done in our pit crew, and you know, I just can't say enough about it. It's a great place to race. It's a lot of fun. We'll see what happens.
It's another race where the 48 is near the front at the end, guys.
Mark Martin looks like he will choose the inside line here with Jimmy Johnson on the outside, 2 by 2. Pace car will bring him around. And what could be the final restart to determine who wins this thing. We're going to listen in to the spotters as we get set with a Degree V12 full throttle.
If you've been messing with your brakes, get them on.
See the pace.
Make sure your tires are clean here. Make sure everything's tight.
To the green.
Here we go.
Simple. I think it's already close enough up to let you go on. Go on through that same spot here. Pace car's off. 24 to go when you get the green. Pace car's in.
All right, bud. Pace car's off.
Pace car's off. So, bud, be ready here. Be ready.
Come on, be ready.
Be ready.
We're gonna have green flag.
Green flag. Green. Go when you can. All clear. All clear. Come on. Side. Still outside there. 14. Still outside.
Still inside. Still there. Clear. Clear low.
Still on your quarter. Stay with it. Clear low. Come on.
Inside the 1.
Still clear by 1.5 to the 14.
Clear by 2.
One
Back door. Clear
now
low
1 to the 14. Now half. Right up on you. Right down on you.
Jimmy Johnson has taken the lead from Mark Martin. So Johnson now, for the first time today, leads at Indianapolis. Martin second, and Biffle right in front of the 14 car of Tony Stewart.
What a power move that 48 made on Mark Martin, all the way on the outside in 1 and 2. Whoa, look at this right here. Harvick gets out of shape.
David Rudiman goes all the way down almost to the pit wall to try to get inside of the 29 car of Harvick. That is 4 position. That's for 7 spot.
Yeah, that's a great move. You can get that run off of turn 4. You see him now trying to hold Kevin Harvick back there. Jeff Gordon right in the mix, as well as Matt Kenseth.
Yeah, Gordon and Kenseth are 9th and 10th. The 31 car, Jeff Burton on pit road. Shannon.
It is right sides only for Jeff Burton. This is an unscheduled stop. They knew that they could make it to the end. I'm going to get down there right now and find out what was going on with that tire, guys.
It looked like a flat right front. Must have run over some debris there under that caution period.
So Jimmy Johnson has become the 7th different car to lead this race today. 9 lead changes. Johnson has led the first lap all afternoon. Jeff Gordon now inside of the 17 car. They've been swapping it back and forth. That's 9th and 10th.
Yeah, Kenseth's been able to get by him, and Jeff made a power move there off of turn 4. You see Kenseth kind of lose the nose as they came out of 4, and Jeff stuck his car right to the bottom.
We saw what a move Jimmy Johnson put on Mark Martin. And if a caution would happen to come out again before the end of the race, it makes you wonder which lane now is Jimmy going to choose after doing so well on the outside.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, too, to see if he can stay up there. We know they made a big swing at this car. They said they were too tight to try to catch Juan Pablo. They had to do some big things. What's going to happen is he continues to put some laps on the tires.
We mentioned earlier that in 6 races at Indianapolis, the eventual winner did not lead his first lap until after lap 100. Jimmy Johnson just led for the first time on lap 136.
Look at Montoya getting aggressive underneath Carl Edwards.
Yeah, he's actually lost a couple of spots on the restart there. So he's having to try to fight his way back. This is new territory for him. He's been out front all day leading this thing.
He is back in behind Joey Logano. Montoya being shown now in 14th position. He restarted in 12th spot. 88 is officially retired, we're told, by NASCAR. So Dale Earnhardt Jr., after qualifying third and running in the top 10 most of the day, will stay in the garage area.
See Joey Logano pulling out of line on the backstretch, trying to make a pass. And the leader, Jimmy Johnson, is having to deal with Jeff Burton after making that pit stop. He came out right in front of Jimmy.
Yeah, and Jeff's trying to stay on the lead lap right there, so that's going to make it difficult for him. As we see Logano take that spot away from Ryan Newman.
That is 12th position for Joey Logano, who has come all the way in the back of the pack. There's a 31 right in front of Jimmy Johnson you were talking about, Burton.
Yeah, and that could aggravate that tight condition that he was talking about if he has to run too many laps behind Jeff Burton.
20 laps to go here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Could Jimmy Johnson be the first driver ever to win this race in back-to-back years? Just 18 laps remaining here in the Allstate 400 at the Brickyard, and Jimmy Johnson now trying to hold off a charge from Mark Martin, and Mark starting to ease back in on Jimmy now as the laps click away.
These cars are closely matched, and Jeff Burton finally gave way to these leaders, and so now it's just between these two.
The problem we've seen all day is cars get up to another car. They're able to get to their back bumper, that they have a really hard time making a pass. Seems like they lose the front end.
I'll tell you what, guys, Mark Martin's only chance he's got right now, if he can take that left front corner of his car and try to get as low as he can on the bottom of the track to try to get a little bit of clean air to try to make that car turn. You can watch him right now, guys, and that's where it's holding him up. It's losing that front end just a little bit, but he's got to keep that left front dead on the bottom of the track, get a little air to that nose.
Yeah, that's you got to do all that you can to keep some air right there. And you know, the one thing when you're sitting there and your teammates, and you got your teammate in front of you, you know he has every bit of horsepower that you have, so you're not going to be able to catch him on the straightaway. You've got to make up some time through these corners.
Mark Martin, the winningest driver thus far in the series. 4 wins in 2009, chasing his teammate Jimmy Johnson. Johnson, a 2-time Brickyard 400 winner. Mark Martin has never won this race.
No, he hadn't, and he's got a tough man to try to get. You know, I know he's a 3-time champion, and you can say all that, but when Jimmy Johnson gets out front, he's just like a bulldog, man. You just can't, you know, it's like he's got a hold of something. You can't take it away from him.
Nothing coming.
Coaching Mark Martin on, say, go get him.
I promise you, Mark doesn't need much coach. He's going everything. He drives every lap as hard as he can anyway. But as I said, that's a championship, a driver and team right there in front of him. That's what's going to make his job difficult. A lot of laps to go here, though. It's still 15, 16 laps to go. That's a lot of time here.
The last 3 years in a row, the driver who led with 10 laps to go here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the Brickyard 400 did not win the race. We'll see if that continues here. Last year it was the 11 car, Denny Hamlin leading with 10 to go, and Jimmy Johnson made the pass.
Jimmy beat Mark just a couple of tenths of the last lap. They've been really just mirroring the lap times of each other, but Jimmy was just a little quicker the last lap.
You see these cars come off the corner. There goes Kenseth and Joey Logano. What a great job that young man's done all day long. Got himself up in 11th spot.
And moving in on the 10th place car of Matt Kenseth. Logano again had to go to a backup engine and had to go to the back of the field and has driven his way all the way through the field into what could quite possibly be a top 10 finish.
Yeah, very impressive by that young man today. He's done a really good job.
That lap there, they were almost identical lap times between the two leaders.
Again, if you just joined our coverage, the dominating car today was Juan Pablo Montoya, who's led 3 times for 116 laps, but a speeding penalty on pit road on the final stop. 2 different segments. He was over the speed limit. He had to come back on a pass-through penalty, and then the caution comes out because of the erupted engine for Dale Earnhardt Jr. He stays on the lead lap, and now mired back in traffic. Montoya not able to make much progress.
This perfect example as we see Michael Waltrip's car being pushed down pit road. Looks like they had some overheating problems earlier and it's finally maybe taking its toll, so he'll take that car behind the wall. But Montoya is a perfect example of what these drivers talk about with this car. You have it out front, you get it back in traffic, it's like driving something totally different. You just can't show the speed that you had when you were out front in that clean air.
Okay, Mark Martin beat Jimmy Johnson a 1/10 of a second that lap.
Yeah, Mark's a pretty smart guy in driving these cars. He might have got up there and saw that, okay, I'm going to have to save my car a little bit. It's abusing the right front a little too much when I get too close. Let's get inside of 10 laps, and then I'll make my run at him.
Well, how much discipline does that take when you're looking at the leaderboard and you see only 13 laps to go, and to back off and let him actually get away from you a little bit? That's hard to do, it seemed like to me.
It is, but it's still, as we said, even 10 laps, that's still 25 miles of racing that you have to get it done. Here we see Juan Pablo Montoya trying to take that 11th spot away from Joey Logano.
Well, not yet. He's trying.
Said trying, yeah.
There have been 3 caution flags for a total of 14 laps. There have been 7 different leaders. We mentioned Montoya had led the most laps, 9 lead changes. 12 laps to go in the 16th running of the Brickyard 400. Vince.
Well, guys, looking for the silver lining for Juan Pablo Montoya, and I know that he is, but his team talked about it, figuring out how many points per race it would take to make the chase. The team concluded that if it would average a 14th place finish, it would make the chase. Well, they were 14th in the season opener at the Daytona 500, and their season average is 14.4. I guarantee you they won't be happy with where they finished today, but in the big picture, this might be a race that still helps them get to the 12-car chase.
They will get the 10 bonus points for leading the most laps today, so that helps a little bit. But when you thought you had a shot to win the Brickyard 400, it's going to leave a sour taste in the mouth.
Well, he had a lot more than a shot. He had the car to beat, absolutely. Had a 5-second lead. Man, this has got to be hard to take for that team.
Yeah, it really is, and he's not going to believe. And I don't even know when they show him that he's going to believe. He's fully convinced that he was not speeding, and it took his opportunity to win this race away. And just to give you an idea, I know points are a long way away, but when he was leading this race, he was up in the 6th spot in points. This right now, if he can finish right where he's at, he would be back in 10th, which is still inside of that top 12.
Up front, it is teammates Jimmy Johnson.
Bud, you focus on him. You get him here.
Jimmy Johnson and Mark Martin running 1-2. Dave.
And guys, these 2 teammates running together, you talked about how the motors are very equal, and it's a great matchup. This morning when I talked to Chad Knaus, he said, I don't feel like we're as good as we could be. Perhaps he knew that his teammate would be his strongest competition. And that radio transmission you just heard from Mark Martin, you know how he feels. He sees a spot on the racetrack where he thinks he can still pass Jimmy.
It's a never say die attitude for Mark Martin. Remember a couple weeks ago at Chicagoland Speedway, he told the guys, okay, from here on out, radio silence, because I'm going to go to war. Mark Martin saying he was going to get up on that wheel and do whatever he could. And right now he is doing everything he can think of to reel in that leader, Jimmy Johnson.
Guys, I tell you, Mark's just hunting really hard right now, trying to find the sweet spot on that racetrack where to pass the 48. And lap after lap, it looks like it's on the exit of turn 2. Mark leaves turn 2 and it runs up a little bit on Jimmy right there. And so if he can keep concentrating on that certain spot right there and try to catch Jimmy sleeping right there, it just might work for Mark.
I know one thing. If he's waiting on Jimmy Johnson to make a mistake, he'll have to wait a long time.
He's there.
Yeah, but the other thing is, Rusty, he must be listening to you because he's doing exactly what you're talking. He's getting as low as he possibly can, keeping a little bit of air on the front of that. As we see here, Juan Pablo trying to take that spot away from Joey Logano again. Not able to make it. A little contact there.
They've swapped it back and forth now twice the last 2 laps with Montoya, or should say Logano and Kansas, Logano and Montoya in 11th and 12th position, and now Logano goes back by.
A lot of frustration inside the cockpit of that 42.
Yeah, but he did a good job there. He's also using his head, too. As frustrated as he is right now, he could have made that a much more worse situation by getting himself and Joey Logano in a bad spot.
Jimmy Johnson and Mark Martin, 0.4 of a second. That's a separation. About 5 car lengths here on the racetrack with 8 laps to go.
Well, Mark can't get his car any lower than what he's been through the corners here. You can see him sliding the thing out of the corners.
Yeah, Mark had run a couple of laps quicker than Jimmy, get within that 0.4 of a second lead, and then right there is where he seems to not be able to make any ground, and he'll actually lose a little bit for a lap. Like we see now, he's lost just a little bit of ground to Jimmy.
Like you said, Andy, and when you get in that position, all you can hope is that guy in front makes a mistake. And we've watched Jimmy Johnson win 3 straight championships. He doesn't make a mistake, as you said, very often.
When we had our champions roundtable discussion in the ring here during countdown, you guys, one of the first names that came out of your mouths was Jimmy Johnson. He is the guy that you're going to have to take it away from.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, there was, we saw him be very dominant here last year. He obviously hasn't done that here today, but he's got himself in the position, and that's what these guys are so good at, making adjustments and giving themselves a chance to win. You said, I think, Andy, earlier in the show, Chad Knaus doesn't take that opportunity away from Jimmy Johnson. He puts him in that position, and then Jimmy takes it from there.
He just keeps him in the game. I mean, they didn't have, like you said, a dominant car or actually a winning car early in the race, but he just kept that car out there, kept him in contention, and then put him in a spot there on that restart that gives him a chance to win.
It's amazing how this team sort of stays around in the top 10 all year long, and then toward the end of the year they began to come on. Last year it was race 29 after Kansas before they actually took the points lead.
6-4.
He's got 6 laps to get it done again. Become our first back-to-back winner of the Brickyard 400.
That's Alan Gustafson trying to coach Mark Martin, trying to tell him how many laps there are to go. You know Mark's giving 110% right here.
There is Greg Biffle, and behind him the 14 of Tony Stewart. What a good job Greg Biffle has done. This would be his best career finish at the Brickyard in 7 starts.
Yeah, really good job. He's just been solid all day long. Very methodical and working his way up. There you see Tony Stewart, our in-race reporter, right behind him.
If Tony can hold on and finish in the 4th position, he will gain in the point standings. Right now he has a 187-point lead over Jimmy Johnson. It is Stewart the leader, then Jimmy Johnson, and Jeff Gordon would move back to 3rd in the standings.
Well, don't forget, when we came into this race, Greg Biffle was really outside the chase looking in. He's now in the chase. If he can finish there, he'll move up a couple of spots in the points to 11.
Yeah, Biffle was actually 9th a couple of weeks ago, but the abysmal finish and the troubles at Chicagoland cost him 2 positions. Behind these two, Brian Vickers having a great run today. He's been in the top 5 all afternoon, so a very consistent run for the Red Bull team. There's Vickers.
And right behind him, you see Kevin Harvick having the best day of his year so far.
And with just 5 to go, the 5 car is moving in.
It doesn't take much. Looked like Mark has decided now's the time to make his run at Jimmy Johnson.
And we have some traffic up ahead that could figure into this finish.
You can see Jimmy pull down. He's trying to break any kind of a draft that Mark Martin might could get to get inch closer to his back bumper.
You got him. Go get him.
That's Gustafson talking to his driver, Mark Martin.
We told you the last 3 years the driver who led with 10 laps to go has not won the race. Jimmy Johnson led with 10 laps to go today.
I tell you, folks, if you don't think these guys are driving that, you can see both of the back of those cars wiggle as they came out of turn 1.
And this is one of those tracks that's even doubly hard because it takes discipline on these flat racetracks, too, to not make a mistake. And your inclination is to really go after it, and that can hurt you sometimes.
In the 15-year history of this Brickyard 400, there has never been a last lap pass for the victory. But that could change.
Could change. We got 3 laps to go here when they come by.
These cars are so equally matched.
Teammates, so much respect with these two drivers driving for Rick Hendrick. Jimmy Johnson, a 3-time champion. And here's a couple of guys still pushing and shoving on the racetrack. The rookie Logano not taking it from Montoya, and Montoya not taking it from Logano.
Well, he does. Montoya does get the spot. There he goes. Look at Mark trying to make a move on Jimmy. Or is that more Jimmy moving out of the way trying to break the draft?
I think part of that is just like Rusty Wallace said, Mark Martin's able to make a really good run out of turn 2, and that gets him a good head of steam down the back straightaway, and that might be where Mark's going to try to make his move as the laps wind down here. He's only got a couple more shots, though.
Had a good run off turn 4. Elliott Sadler, the lap car. You see Jimmy drafting off of Elliott.
2 laps to go. They are 5 miles away from the checkered flag.
Okay, that's turn 1. We'll see turn 2. That's where Mark Martin's been able to gain a little bit on Jimmy Johnson. Let's see if he can do that on the exit. See, he can get back to the throttle hard right there.
Well, that was a good
Here he comes.
exit. Nice run right here.
Here comes Martin on the outside. Does he have enough? Oh, Johnson now able to pull him by still a couple of car lengths.
He's going to have one more shot at that place. See if he can get a little closer to him as they get in turn 2.
Well, he sure got Jimmy worried looking in that mirror.
Yes, he does.
Coming out of turn 4 for the white flag this time, and Mark Martin will have one more shot in the south end of the racetrack. Jimmy knows he needs to get all he can get here on this front straightaway. Look at him moving from inside to outside. White flag.
Jimmy's doing everything he can to keep him back there, not letting him get too close to the bumper. He doesn't want to get the opportunity to get him loose. Here's Mark's spot coming up. Got one more run at him.
This time down the back straightaway, Jimmy Johnson stays in the middle of the racetrack and will pull him by a couple of car lengths. 2 turns away from the checkered flag. Turn 3.
Well, Martin just needs a couple of car lengths trying to loosen him up.
Man, he drove it hard in there and out of that corner. That's why Jimmy Johnson's a champion right there, folks.
Out of turn 4, headed for the checkered flag, and 3-time NASCAR Sprint Cup champion Jimmy Johnson becomes a 3-time winner at the Brickyard 400.
First time anybody's ever won it back to back.
Stewart gets Biffle there at the end.
Awesome, dude. You are absolutely incredible. Just incredible. Never had it.
Great effort.
I am very proud of you, buddy. Incredible, incredible job. Earl, great job. Guys, great job, everybody.
Jimmy Johnson waving to the crowd. Tony Stewart coming up alongside to wave a congratulations to Jimmy Johnson.
Biffle's giving him a little nudge
from behind.
Yep, good day for Biffle in 4th place.
So another 1-2 sweep in a NASCAR race, second race in a row for Hendrick Motorsports. Jimmy Johnson, Mark Martin finishes 2nd. As you mentioned, Tony Stewart getting by Greg Biffle on the last lap to finish 3rd. Biffle 4th, and Brian Vickers 5th.
Kevin Harvick was able to hang on to that 6th spot as we see Rick Hendrick climb down.
Celebrated his 60th birthday just a week ago, and teammate Jeff Gordon coming by to wave in the window to his teammate Jimmy Johnson in the car, by the way, he co-owns.
Yeah, I believe that's 7 victories here for Rick Hendrick, 4 with Gordon and 3 with Jimmy Johnson. It's pretty amazing. We've only run 16.
Very disappointing day for Juan Pablo Montoya, though, after leading 116 laps. The penalty takes him away from a chance to win the Brickyard 400.
Yeah, he'll end up in the 11th spot.
Team coming by, high-fiving Jimmy Johnson, and they know that there are so many great traditions in racing, and one of the all-time greats that everyone wants to be a part of is kneeling to kiss those bricks.
And there's Chad Knaus. He's congratulating his driver, who just did an incredible job to win this thing.
Yeah, he just told him he was an incredible driver, and I think that Jimmy Johnson's proven that to everyone.
And there's Rick.
Yeah.
There's Mr. Rick.
And what a find by Jeff Gordon and Rick Hendrick to take Jimmy Johnson, who hadn't even won a Busch race at the time, and bring him in, put him in this situation with Chad Knaus. What a team they've become.
So Jimmy Johnson wins the Brickyard 400 for the 3rd time, and now we'll head back to victory lane. We'll talk with the winner when we come back in just a moment. 33-year-old Jimmy Johnson has won the Brickyard 400 for the third time. And he did it in fine style here, having to hold off a tenacious teammate, Mark Martin, for those final 25 laps. See Jimmy Johnson coming by with a checkered flag. Let's go down and visit with Mark Martin. Vince.
Well, Mark Martin has been one of the big stories here all weekend long, and you were chasing your teammate there toward the end. Looked like you made a couple of moves, a couple of runs at him. Did you just not have enough to get by?
Well, I sure did want to. He was better than I was off of 4, and I was better than he was off of 2. So, I knew I had to make it happen off of 2, but wadding it up wasn't a great idea either. And both of us were driving for all we were worth, and I couldn't get him.
You said in the pre-race show today that this was going to be a dogfight. You anticipated a battle to the very end. Can you just kind of give us a synopsis of how the racing was during the course of the 160 laps? And, of course, we saw the fierce finish.
I was just, I asked for a chance, to be in the fray. And Alan and all our 5 team, Kellogg's CarQuest, and all the guys that support us, everybody at Hendrick Motorsports, gave me a chance, and that's all I asked for.
One of the first to congratulate Mark Martin on his good run today, Jimmy Johnson crew chief Chad Knaus. Rick Hendrick now putting an arm around Mark Martin. Martin up 2 spots in the points to number 9.
There's Jimmy Johnson trying to make his way, and everyone congratulating up and down pit road. And of course, much of the day belonged to Juan Pablo Montoya. Let's go down to Jamie.
And Juan Pablo Montoya, after leading 116 laps, what was it like to hear that over the radio you got a penalty?
It kind of sucks, but it's what it is. Everybody at the Target Chevy did an amazing job. I thought I was on the speed, and we got lights. I was on the lights every time, and actually that light I came in slower than the previous one, and they said you're speeding. So it's what it is. We had a deal like that before, and once it happens, you can't change it. So it's pretty frustrating, but it shows where we're going with the team.
What was it like to be out there leading again at Indianapolis Motor Speedway?
Actually, it reminded me of the last time I led here. It was kind of easy, to be honest. I was cruising. The car was stupid fast.
You only lost 1 position in the points. Where's your head right now as you look forward?
Same thing, just top 10s. Try to get top 10s every week and, ride every week because, things like that can really screw a championship.
All right, Juan Pablo, cool head has prevailed, guys.
He will be credited with an 11th place finish here today after leading 3 times for 116 laps. Looking down on our Degree V12 victory lane here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And let's go down to Dave Burns.
And the cheers of his crew after a battle like I don't think we've seen here ever, and probably the most hard-fought Brickyard 400 you've ever had, Jimmy.
That was unbelievable. I hope the fans enjoy that race. I can't say enough about this race team and all of Hendrick Motorsports to be up there battling with my teammate Mark Martin. Damn, is he fast. For an old guy, had me pretty worried. It's great to work with him, work with Alan, work with all my teammates at Hendrick Motorsports, the Skobalt Tools and Paul on Victory Lane. And those last 15, 20 laps, man, we had to drive it so hard to stay ahead of the 5. I was better in 3 and 4 than he was, and he had me beaten 1 and 2, and it was kind of a give and take thing that was going on. Luckily, we held him off.
You got him on the last restart, and that seemed to be one of the keys because then you had the clean air.
Yeah, clean air was everything. You could only get so close to the car in front of you. You had a few laps on new tires to really take advantage of something, but I got that restart and put on a great show for the fans. I hope they enjoyed it, or that they enjoyed it. I think, Sprint for all that they've done, NASCAR, Goodyear for a great tire. That's the way to go racing.
Now, you told DJ when you were golfing with him this week that you thought you could win. Chad told me this morning he'd be cool with the top 5, so I guess you were right, huh?
I was speaking before we got on the racetrack. We had some issues through race practice yesterday. We had a decent car, not the best car, and he made some great changes to the race car over the night. And we were one of the few cars that could work through traffic and pass guys, and we passed that last car at the end and got it won.
Jimmy, 2 of your championships were won in years where you won the Brickyard 400. Do you feel like this team has the momentum going? I'm looking over there, too. He can come in here next. Come on in here, Mark. Let's hold that question.
That's right.
How much respect do you have for him?
It's hard to put it into words, to be honest with you. He is such a perfectionist, loves driving these race cars, loves working for this race team, and I think he's opened the eyes of all of us at Hendrick Motorsports at how we can love our jobs a little more and try a little harder. So it's great to work with him.
All right, championship potential, Jimmy?
Yeah, you know, we're doing things right. The last 4 or 5 weeks, we've had a shot at winning races and just come up a little short the way things have shaken out at the end. So I feel we've got our form. We've led a lot of laps in the last 10 races, probably the most, more than anyone. And now that we're getting close to the chase, that's nice that we're winning races again and can buckle down and focus on a fourth.
The 3-time Sprint Cup champion is now a 3-time Brickyard 400 champion. Doc.
In his 275th career start, Jimmie Johnson makes Brickyard 400 history, becoming the first driver to win in back-to-back years. He also becomes the first winner to ever lead his first lap this late in the race. He did not lead a lap until lap 137 and then led the final 24 laps. The 16th running of the Brickyard 400 is history, and what a day for Jimmie Johnson. Aerial coverage provided by our good friends at Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. New Fuel Max tires help you have a winning fuel strategy. Jimmie Johnson had the winning strategy today. They worked on the race car, and he led the final 24 laps of the race. He will gain a spot in the NASCAR Sprint Cup point standings. Jeff Gordon goes back 1. You see Carl Edwards up a spot. And, of course, Mark Martin up 2 positions there to 9th position. Tony Stewart is the points leader. Let's go down to Shannon.
Doc, Tony Stewart said that he judges this season based on consistency, rates this season based on consistency. How would you rate the run here today?
Well, I think we were pretty consistent today. I mean, we had one just minor hiccup that we lost 4 spots in the pits, but got half of those back in the first 10 laps after the restart and got back up where we wanted to be toward the end there. We weren't fast enough to run with Mark and Jimmy, but we were just a little bit too tight in the center. But really proud of Darren Grubb and everybody on this Old Spice Office Depot team. Our Chevy was awesome, and really proud of our organization. It's awesome to be able to come here our first time and finish in the top 3 like this.
Tony, you love this state, you love this track. Was this what the fans needed to make up for last season?
Yeah, I mean, I really got to give Goodyear a pat on the back. I mean, we not once did I don't think any of us in the field have to worry about the tires. We were able to run as hard as we wanted to run right off the bat and not have to worry about that. And that's due to a lot of hard work and effort from Goodyear and the teams and drivers that came here and tested to get ready for this race. There were a lot of laps put down by a lot of teams, and it costs a lot of money to do that. But, it shows the commitment that NASCAR and Goodyear and the teams made to making sure that the fans had a good show today.
Tony Stewart is still your points leader. He extends his lead to 192, the largest of the season. Vince?
Well, Brian Vickers had a good day today, a top 5 finish, but as he just said, well, not good enough because I'm not standing down there in victory lane. But in the big picture of things, to come here and run top 5, as difficult as this track is, and some of the issues you had, I know you had a tire going down late. In the big picture, how do you feel about it?
The big picture was a good day. We couldn't risk ruining a good points day to go chase the bricks, but, man, it'd been nice to win. So proud of the Red Bull crew. We had a great car all day. I think if we'd have got the track position, we would have had a shot at it, but it wasn't for lack of a great pit crew. They did a phenomenal job all day on pit road. There, that last run, we had a left rear going down, and it was pretty low by the end of the run. We were lucky to hang on to 5th, but it is what it is.
How difficult is it to race to race, knowing that the contract situation is still out there and in flux? Do you feel like you're racing for an opportunity to continue on in this sport, or are you confident of where your situation is headed?
No, not at all, actually. We've agreed to all the terms. That's not the situation at all. They've said they wanted to re-sign me. That's fine. If not, I've explored all my options. There's a lot of options out there, so that's good to know. Makes you feel good for sure, but right now I'm just trying to go get a trophy, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Brian Vickers, a good representative of Red Bull, and gave it a good run for Toyota here today, Dave.
Hey, Vince, we caught up with Chad Knaus, who engineered yet another victory here today in a car that you told me wasn't your best, but you'd take a win if you could get it there. How did you get that car there?
I think that, you just have to look at the hard work by everybody on the Lowe's team. They just did such a fantastic job. We changed an awful lot this morning and, relied on our teammates an awful lot with the 24 car and the 5 car with Alan Custis and those guys and looking at what the 88 did. And, pit crew had great pit stops, and we were able to pass cars today, and there weren't a lot of people on the racetrack who could actually pass. So that was a nice, reassuring feeling once we started the race, and we could see him start to march his way up there. So we knew if we could get out front towards the end that we would have something for him.
How satisfying is it to you knowing you and Alan basically shared everything, and then your guys fought it out at the end?
I mean, that's the way that we love it. I mean, the 24 car and us a couple years ago, I think we won over half the races in the series. And when you're able to do that intercompany, that's really fun. I mean, it shows the fruits of the labors of us trying to work together and us trying to make everybody work together and sit down. And it's demanding. It's demanding to have all the crew chiefs and the drivers get on calls and get in meetings and do things like that. But I think when you see performances like this, that's what shows the fruit.
The success of Hendrick Motorsports, guys.
The 5th 1-2 finish for Hendrick Motorsports here in 2009. And they have loaded that car as full as they can get it to take a victory celebration ride. This is the 11th win here, by the way, for Chevrolet, 7th in a row, and the 7th win at Indianapolis for Hendrick Motorsports. There are 6 races remaining until we start the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. If you'd like a ticket to the chase, we'll be at Pocono next week, Watkins Glen, Michigan. Oh, how about Bristol, Thunder Valley on a Saturday night in August. www.nascar.com/tickets. They are available, and that's where we're going to be as we head to the chase to see who will become the 2009 NASCAR Sprint Cup champion. What we do know is the 2008 champion has won another time at the Brickyard 400. Coverage of Major League Baseball continues on ESPN with 2 nights of action. First catch Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell at 8 Eastern as the Jermaine Dye and the Chicago White Sox take on the American League Central rivals, the Detroit Tigers, led by Miguel Cabrera. Then on Monday Night Baseball presented by Holiday Inn at 7 Eastern, 2 of the best hitters in the game take the field as Manny Ramirez and the Los Angeles Dodgers face Albert Pujols and the Cardinals. Major League Baseball on ESPN and ESPN 360. There is the Brickyard 400 winning team. Chad Canal sitting there, Jimmy Johnson in the middle, and of course all the guys waving to the crowd here. Well, let's go down and visit with Joey Logano, who had a great run. Shannon.
Doc, after starting in the back of the field because of an engine change, Joey Logano comes away with the 12th place finish. But we were just talking about it, and you're not 100% satisfied. Why not?
I think we had a better car than where we finished, but that'll happen when you start in the back at a place that's so hard to pass. So we do everything we can do with the Home Depot Toyota. We just it seems like we're really good on the restarts, and then as the laps kept going, even if you were a little bit faster, by the time you got there, your car get tight, and then you burn the right front off, and then everyone's the same. So cautions would have been perfect for us to maybe do some strategy, or even the restarts. Like I said, we were really good at that. So. Oh, well, I mean, we still come at 12th place finish. It's a decent finish for where we started, and we'll head to the next racetrack.
Joey, most rookies don't get the opportunity to run with all of the leaders in the top 10, top 12, battle with Montoya, a 2,500 winner. What was that like for you? What did you learn today here?
It's fun. I tell you, it's really cool racing with Juan and stuff. We were running out there. We were running hard, so that was fun, But just being around this racetrack and getting around it, and saying, what, I got a good race car, and if I was up there, maybe I would have a shot at this thing. That's pretty neat. I just think clean air would have been big, but we'll go to the next one. You know what I mean? It's just a little tough when you're starting it back.
Joey Logano holding down the fort for the Joe Gibbs Racing Camp. 12th place finish today. Jamie?
Another Hendrick member, Jeff Gordon, started 22nd. He ended up 9th. So, Jeff, your overall impressions of how the car raced today with this new tire?
I mean, the tire was pretty good. It would take off with a lot of grip, and then the grip would go away. So that's kind of what you search for. This is a tough racetrack. It always has been. It's kind of a one groove, and it's very tough to pass. So, I felt like we didn't have quite as good a car as we needed in traffic, but the speed was certainly there. Under the green flag stops, I felt like we were as good as anybody, and we could make some passes. But, once we got bunched up on those double file restarts, I just wasn't as good, especially that last one I got on the outside. So, decent day for DuPont Chevrolet, great day for Jimmy and Chad and all the guys on that Lowe's Chevrolet and Hendrick Motorsports. I really thought Mark was going to get it, but, it's great to see it come home to Rick and another Brickyard 400, which is pretty spectacular.
You guys finished, as you mentioned, 1st, 2nd, 9th. We're going on to Pocono next week. A lot of people compare the two. Your expectations for next week?
Well, totally different tire, and I think there's no comparison, other than got to have good power and get through the tunnel turn, and it's the only turn that's similar to these turns. I'm certainly anxious to get there. I feel like we've got a lot of good things working for us. We got to get a little bit better, and we're going to go to the next race and try to do that. And keep trying to get ourselves prepared to win this championship when it all starts.
All right, and Jeff Gordon just slips one position. He sits third in points.
Jamie, you'll have to wait till next year to become possibly the first 5-time winner here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the oval, because his teammate in the car he co-owns, Jimmie Johnson, has become a 3-time Brickyard 400 champion. Back in just a moment. Tradition at Indianapolis, the winners and the entire team kiss the bricks. Rick Hendrick, Chad Knaus, Jimmie Johnson, Jimmy's wife Shanny, all lining up with the crew there to kiss the bricks. The yard of bricks that is so emblematic of the history of this place, 100 years old. And Jimmie Johnson now has won the Brickyard 400 for a 3rd time. Johnson becomes the first driver in this race's 16-year history to win it in back-to-back seasons. Let's go down where Vince is caught up with the 4th place finisher.
Greg Biffle with a solid top 5 today, finishing 4th here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's a good run. How would you assess it? Was it as good as it seemed at the finish?
It was. I mean, when you're shutting your car off coasting half the straightaway, that's certainly not going as fast as you can go. And we just had to move over and let Tony Stewart go by to save enough fuel to finish the race. And we're thinking back Michigan leading with a half a lap running out of gas. So we wanted to get the 3M piston earplug Ford Fusion here on the grid, and we knew 4th was better than 3rd if we could finish. And so that's what we decided to do, a little fuel mileage strategy. And, we just thank the fans for coming out and watching today. After what happened last year, hats off to Goodyear, all the hard work they did to put on a great race here today.
And started out this race just outside the chase in 13th position. You picked up 2 spots to number 11. How big is that in the big picture?
It's big, but I think of the little things. I think of that 5 points I gave to Tony Stewart, just having to, let him go to save enough fuel. But with 4 laps to go, and we'll have to wait and see. We'll check our fuel and see if we could have made it. But we're happy to get back on track, 4th place. We're pretty happy.
Good run for Greg Biffle in the 16 today.
What a day for Carl Edwards. Started 41st on owner points, Carl, and you finished 15th. Sum up today for us.
We didn't start on points. I qualified that bad. But what was that?
Owner points.
Oh, we made it a provisional? No, great. Even better. Well, we started near the back, and we worked really hard. And I drove as hard as I could, but passing was very difficult. I never thought I'd welcome those double file restarts here like I did. I couldn't wait for the restarts. That was when I could make up a little ground. But, my Aflac Fusion was decent. I think if we were up front in clean air, I could have run really well. But as it was, we needed another 400 miles to make it up there to race with those guys. But, definitely a solid day, points-wise for us.
A lot of people measure how they run at Indianapolis for next week in Pocono. Where do you guys stand for next week?
That's a great point. Pocono has a lot of similarities to Indianapolis, but we ran so well there, the previous race, and it's a little more simple to pass at Pocono. So I'm excited. We couldn't be going to a better racetrack. I felt like we were the fastest car last time, and hopefully it'll be that way again.
Tough weekend turns out decent for Carl Edwards.
Nice comeback for Carl today to get a top 20 finish. Guys, your final thoughts on what we saw here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway?
I'm just so disappointed, for Juan Pablo Montoya. He had such a great car, and those guys really felt like they could reach out and touch this one. But what a great job Jimmie Johnson did to beat his teammate Mark Martin.
Yeah, it would have been great to see 50-year-old Mark Martin go to victory lane here too. But Jimmie Johnson and Chad Knaus show why they are the 3-time reigning champions of this sport. They make adjustments. They're the best on pit road in making adjustments and getting their car right whenever it counts, and that's at the end. And that man right there, Jimmie Johnson, is the best driver out here. He gets it done whenever it counts.
And could Jimmie Johnson become the first driver in history to win 4 NASCAR Sprint Cup titles in a row? It's going to be a very interesting chase here down the wire in 2009. Jimmie Johnson and wife Shanny headed over to the media discussions there after winning it in back-to-back years. Well, lots of motorsports updates and action to come your way. NHRA action, the Fram Autolite Finals at Sonoma tonight at 9:30 Eastern Time on ESPN2. Of course, later tonight, NASCAR Now, 12:30 a.m. We'll recap everything that's happened today. Of course, NASCAR Now Roundtable tomorrow at 5 o'clock Eastern Time, presented by Home Depot. NASCAR Nationwide action, the GoDaddy.com action at Iowa next Saturday. And, of course, next Sunday, the NASCAR Sprint Cup at Pocono, the Tricky Triangle, presented by Old Spice. That's 1 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN. Of course, post-race coverage coming up after this. We'll be on SportsCenter post-race updates from what's happening here and ESPN News. Rick Hendrick signing autographs as Jimmy Johnson has become now a 3-time winner here at Indianapolis.